Welcome to Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wasey. I'm Ted. He is Wasey. I guess do I ever say our last names? Like I'm Ted Stove and he's
People know
Wasey
who we
Anderson?
are. That's it's called Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wasey. So I mean,
Yeah.
and our social media handles have our last name in them.
They do.
So
if you to go to cowboyshit.ca, that's cowboyshit.com, cowboyshitofficial.com, you will find us. And check it out. I was gonna say you got a couple bags into your
I haven't really been sleeping much the last little while.
Why not?
All the late night hockey, bud.
Yeah.
Gets to a guy. Even like we were talking about the other day, even if you play a game at like 8 p.m., you still not to get home until midnight anyways. And you're still in bed by like 1. Yeah, because the guy goes for a beer after because you don't want to be that guy who doesn't go for a beer with the boys.
Yeah, you don't want to be weird. You want to be some weirdo that doesn't go for a beer.
That's the whole reason why we play anyways, right? You go burn quick 1,000 calories so you can drink a couple beers and gain it all back.
So you drink a couple thousand calories.
Drink a couple thousand calories, exactly. So it's all about balance, right?
It is. I get it.
But yeah, anyways, I played hockey like I used the same for you, but late night hockey 4 times last week, so that's a lot. And then we had late night volleyball too, because volleyball was at 9:30 on Wednesday. I'm playing beach volleyball for the past couple of weeks with some folks from work. Heck of a sport. It's just late. You just get late nights and you don't get up early in the morning. I'm up at 6:30 every day, so. And then I didn't. And then we were up early Saturday. So
big day at the warehouse on Saturday.
Yeah, we got some shit happening. That was cool.
Got some stuff done. Yeah,
got some work done.
Man, I think we got to start. The biggest news. I'd have to look and do some more research, but I think today, for those of you listening, it'll be Wednesday. It'll be old news by then. But like today is Sunday, March 6th, and Kaique Pacheco wins $2.1 million at the American
million. Not bad, hey?
$2.1 million.
Well, and he's a contender for another world title, so you could win potentially $3 million in the next 2 months.
Plus the round money and the season money, hey?
Yeah.
I wonder what he's won already this year. I'm just gonna look it up.
I think he's right in the the top 5 in the world in the PBR too, isn't he?
I don't even know. I gotta look. And then
they
won a bunch of money last night at the Global Cup as well. So let's just go to standings here quick.
That's another thing we should talk about too, is the Global Cup.
Oh yeah, we will. Okay, Kaique is not top 10. He's not top 10.
Oh, he isn't? Okay. I thought he was closer, but but a guy like that it can contend for a world title. So, I mean,
is he? I just don't see him here. I don't see him here in the top even 30. Maybe he's just coming back from something.
Maybe. I
don't know the story here right now. I'm gonna have to look this up. Let's look up Pacheco here quickly. Pacheco. Let's see where he's been. Number 52.
Number 52.
Age 27. Yeah. Geez.
So he still has some work to do.
That's wild.
But either way.
Global Cup. So they won 13,000 yesterday. And so say he's won, what's he won this year? Oh, I don't see it here handy. He won 236,000 last year at the World Finals. Oof,
Jesus. But either way, anyways, guy can win a ton of money in the next 2 months. So that's pretty cool, man.
100%.
That's going to be the largest one day payout of a rodeo ever, eh?
I think so. That was what my point was. It's like,
yeah.
I don't think anywhere else in Western sports, like the World Series, the team roping, the NFR, like nobody's ever won $2 million before at any Western sports event. Like, I don't know what the cutting horse shows and the like barrel racing events, but like nobody's ever put together this big of a check before for a one day
for one event. Yeah.
Anywhere. There's never,
and one person winning that amount of money.
Yeah. And not even one season. Hey, like if you put together a whole season, like Sage Kimzey had like $1 million season in 2018.
Well, even like when Kaique won the world, he probably only won like, not only, I shouldn't say only, but he probably won like 1.3 mil that year, right? So I mean, it's more than that's like two world champions worth of money.
He was a world champion 2018, and it says 1.5.
There you go.
But he only got he got $500,000 that year plus 100,000. So because the PBR world champion is paid out as an annuity, so they get 100,000 a year for 10 years.
Yeah.
So 600,000 plus whatever else he won. So still, holy shit. He won 484,000 last year. So guys doing all right, eh? Holy shit.
It's not a bad way to make a living.
Okay, so he's 27. So question posed to you. He's 27 years old. Do you retire now? You won 2 million. Do you retire or do you keep going?
I think as long as you still have the fire to compete at that level, like go as long as you'd like to. But if you're I don't know. That's a hard question. That's a hard question to ask because he's still a guy who can compete for a world title. And if that's your objective every year is to win a world title, as long as you have that fire and you can still compete, like why stop, right?
Yeah.
What else is he gonna do at 27? What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know the guy well enough to know.
No, yeah. So I don't know. I think it's cool. Like, yeah, I don't think I would retire if I was still capable. I think it would make retiring a lot easier, for some guys who go a bit longer just so they can make a bit more money just for the future.
I bet that
in his case,
I bet that some people. So here's a comparison for you. Justin McBride is 42 and retired in 2008. Mm-hmm. So what is 2022 minus that? That's only 28 years old. So McBride retired around 27, 28. So I mean, and he'd won $2 million over his.
But I think part of his reasoning too had been like he lost that fire to compete. Like
and maybe
he had a family and.
I wonder if that would be the case. Like I
think it's just I think it varies guy to guys. If you're like a guy like Schiffner's an example, like he still had that fire to compete as he got older, and he still could compete. So I mean, he didn't quit, but I think it just all depends on where the guy's at when it comes to the sport. Because it's one of the, especially at that level, like it's not like a.
But I mean,
it definitely makes it easier for him to like make that decision to retire though. Like if he's having a tough year and he just doesn't want to do it anymore, it's like, I won $2 million last year. Like I can dip.
But I mean, even like right now, like he's 50th in the world. I just wanted to ask the question because I was thinking, it's
a good question. Yeah.
So tell us your answers. Hit us up on social. Send me a text, send me a tweet, put it on Facebook somewhere. What would you do if you were KK Pacheco? You just won 2.1 million. Would you retire? And I didn't watch the post game stuff. I should probably watch out for what Flisco was saying. Maybe I don't think he would have made an announcement, but still, it's.
I don't think he'd retire on the spot. Like he can still make the World Finals this year, and he's riding and he's healthy. Like,
and he'll probably get picked for the teams and.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see. It's a good thing to ponder. But I know for me, I'd still want to go. But it definitely, when that time came to hang it up, it would be a lot easier to make the decision than if I was a guy who needed the money consistently all the time.
Yeah.
But cool, man. It's a cool deal. And kudos to McBride and Kate Harrison on the broadcast.
Were great.
I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but I watched all the videos and they were awesome. So that's really cool to see. It's nice to have that's the nice thing. That's what rodeo doesn't really have is like a variety of like play-by-play teams, how hockey has a bunch, like hockey has so many, hockey, football, baseball, all the big sports have different groups of people covering different events. It's nice to have that. It's nice to have that variety. We were talking about it last night with the Flames game. Like they had a different team there this year for last night for Hockey Night in Canada, but you have like your Jim Houston's and your
and he hasn't even done any games lately.
He's retired. He retired.
Oh, he retired. Okay.
Yeah, but like guys like
Bob Cole, you got Bob Cole, Rick Ball,
Rick
Rudy,
Ball.
And I don't even really like Kelly Rudy on some.
Who's the TSN guy?
Chris Cuthbert went over.
No, Chris Cuthbert. And there's another one too. Who does the World's Juniors? Gord Miller and Ray Ferraro. Like we have so many different groups of people who do it.
I really like Jack Michaels and what he does on the Oilers broadcast. Like like I gotta point it out. I get what CBC is doing, like to put Hunter Ryan on the broadcast, but I just don't think he does as good of a job as some of the other guys on the crew. Mm-hmm. And I think the best people should do the job. And I thought Kate and Justin were awesome.
Man, yeah, they did great.
It was professional commentary. McBride, I think, is one of the best in the business overall.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good at articulating his thoughts, from a color standpoint.
And he's done more than one event. Like he made the college finals in the saddle bronc riding, and I think in the bareback riding. Like that guy's done numerous events to actually.
He's cowboy, that guy,
and has real. What do I say? He has actual relevant information on each of the horses, the contestants, it's not just bullshit. But yeah, this guy is a finals qualifier. He rides really good. There's his wife sitting in the stands. Like there's actual real content where he's like, yeah, this horse is known for this. This guy's saddle was in this spot. This was going on. Like there's actual articulated information that actually provides.
That's what you need. That's what you need.
Value.
That's what you need out of a color guy, right? That's why those where guys like Ray Ferraro and the hockey guys are so good
because
they do such a good job because they know how they can tell the game. They've done the game, so they know how to talk about it, right? That's what you need to get those people in place.
They've done enough that they understand.
Well, even like,
right?
Remember at the NFR in Texas when they brought Janie in like halfway through to do the barrel racing, how much better the barrel racing was, right? Yeah. Like it's
Donnie Gay does not know about
barrel racing. Man. Like you got to get the. And that's what's gonna make the rodeo product on TV better if you put those right people in place. Well,
and even like we can talk about that for a sec, but like you know, I don't think Donnie Gay does a very good job talking about the bull riding at the NFR.
It's all fluff, man. It's not there's no added value.
There's not a lot of great content in there.
Yeah.
I would much rather listen to McBride at the NFR on the NFR broadcast.
And you know who else is really good at that is Ty Murray, man, is really good also.
And I still like McBride better.
But I'm just saying, like, there's for the people available in the space, like, there's so many good people who can do the job.
And Craig Hummer is an incredible professional. But the difference between Murray and McBride is the excitement. When Paike won the $2 million today, McBride was excited. Where Ty'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. This is great. This is that," and it wouldn't be as exciting. But McBride adds the excitement that, for me. So the Global Cup. We'll go back. So. First things first, though, Dawson Hay wins the bronc ride in 400,000. One of the only Canadians to have won the American title. The other one would be Zeke.
Oren
won money, didn't win the whole thing though.
He won it a couple years ago.
He won 100,000. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot who had won or not. Yeah. But another Canadian adding their name to the winners of the American.
Congrats, Dawson.
Yeah.
And Ben Anderson, man, pat on the back for him. How you put it all out there, man. It's cool, man. Those Canadian bronc riders, they're kicking ass, dude. I looked through the world standings the other day, and like you see Cole Ashback or Lucas Moxa. Man, I remember when Lucas was too scared to get on a steer. Now he's kicking ass, like
in the bronc riding.
Man, fucking good for him. I'm pumped. So it's good to see all those guys doing good. The Pierogi Bandits having a hell of a season.
Well, and he had a chance. Colby had a chance to win the $1 million, like the big prize today too, but didn't make it out of the
Longo.
Round. But Ben Anderson has a shot to win $2 million. And gets bucked off. He's going for trying to win the round. He's got to be.
And you got to do it, man.
He's got to go for it, and he goes for it and gets bucked off. So pretty cool. The Rocky Mountain House.
It's cool to see.
Alberta Cowboy has a chance at the 2 million. I wonder what's going through that guy's head right now. We might have to talk to him on one of the next shows and be like, dude, what was going on? Like, what was?
Well, I think if I like, and like this is just me putting myself in his position. Like, as long as I knew I put everything out there. Left it all in the arena, like you can't be disappointed in that.
Yeah, but do you think how many times throughout his lifetime will he go to bed and be like, "Oh fuck, I could have won $2 million"?
Oh, like, I'm sure it's gonna be a few times, but
it'll be a little bit haunting, won't it?
It'd be comforting to know that because he has to be over 90 some points.
It's gonna be 91 to win. 90 points.
Yeah, so you gotta go. You gotta go for it. Yeah. And I mean, if you put everything you had into it. And it just wasn't enough. That's the way she goes, man. For a guy in his position, like you can't let that haunt you because it's gonna bother you everything else you do. And I think for him it's a character builder where it's like, hey, and next time in that position, like it's gonna make him that much better. Will he ever
have a chance to be in the position to win $2 million again in his life?
Maybe next year, man.
Yeah, but no, not next year because it's only a $1 million rodeo. This was a carried over prize from previously Lacey.
Well, maybe the prize money goes up over time. Who knows? Like
possibly
things change.
We might not see another $2 million payday in one.
You'd like to though. You'd hope. I'd
love to. I just don't know if we will. I don't know if.
I mean, if they keep putting out banger events like that, it wouldn't be hard for the prize money to grow, eh?
Very true.
But
so, and then I don't know what the crowd was, how many people were there, but I think it would rival one of the bigger crowds. But they had Tim McGraw and Faith Hill there for the intermission, so I don't know how many people bought a ticket to see Tim and Faith. Whereas with the PBR Iron Cowboy a few years ago, they had 46,000 there. It was the largest attended Western sports event ever, and as far as I know, it was Western sports exclusive. Because you can compare Rodeo Houston, and they get 90,000, but they have George Strait too. So it's not actually just a rodeo. So
the one thing about the American did though is they marketed the rodeo first.
But Tim and Faith were pretty major parts.
For sure, they're part of it, but it was at the focal point too is still around the rodeo and the content there. So I mean, like I agree with you. Like there's still the Tim and Faith aspect definitely helps put some butts in the seats, but it's still all about the rodeo.
Yes, correct. And I gotta say, hats off to Luke Kaufman, Keenan Vine, the entire production staff. That was a snappy show. That thing was freaking running like a top. It might have been 5 hours between the long round concert and short round, but like that was
there's no lulls. Yeah.
That was a lot of content. So I was and so comparing today to yesterday and the Global Cup, I was disappointed this year with the Global Cup. Honestly,
it was a very underwhelming event, man.
Yeah, I thought that being one day was a knock at it. It didn't feel as prestigious this time, but also I can just say I didn't get to see the opening, so I wouldn't have been as pumped up because it was cool to hear Brett afterwards. I realized that he introduced Team Canada, which was pretty neat. But then, but the having the in arena feed with that wasn't featured on the broadcast, it just was. It wasn't like we were there, and we could kind of hear some crowd noise. It just didn't quite feel like we didn't have the energy like McBride on the broadcast. And that's not a knock on Flint or Matt West or Clint Atkins. They're
in the arena. They're focused on the event that they're doing there. They're not signing up for the TV crowd.
But awesome. We got to watch it on Facebook with like on the PBR Canada, PBR Australia Facebook pages. Both had it streaming. So it was really cool to be able to watch. I was a little bit disappointed, but and it was a 2-horse race. It was Team USA against Brazil. So I don't know if it's a format change sometime or if they're losing steam with this, or if it might go away because we got the team challenge on the go. But I'm not sure. I was a little bit sad with how it was last night. It just wasn't as, comparing these two. I always thought the Global Cup was a better event than the American the last few years. But today, like, I don't know if it's just the broadcast skewing things, but I was really impressed today and not.
It's hard to build. The cool thing about the Global Cup has been the storylines that come from it, right? There's there's drama, there's this and that. The team, there's some more. The team aspect carries greater value when it's multiple days rather than just one event. It's like, okay, you have your 7 guys that get one chance, whereas like you can have like over the course of a weekend event, you have guys who can carry a team. You have guys who can step up to a plate. Like even like looking at Team Canada, like Coverchuck was.
He was right there.
He was right there to be a bunch of points. Jared,
it was 7.95, and that could have went either way.
Yeah, Jared had a tough go. Like Jordan and those guys can compete, and they can compete at that level. They have at certain times, right? So it's just
a matter of that they don't compete at that level consistently.
There's a lot more luck involved in a one-day event for a team. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
team like that, yeah.
For just for any of the teams, like you look at whatever. I think Mexico, over a weekend of
Wolves,
over a weekend
event,
it
might be more chance. At least you're not out of competition after the first day.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I guess, right? There's a chance. Mathematically, there's a chance.
Yeah, and I think that adds to that dramatic aspect, right?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, really good show coming up here, folks. BJ Kramps. It was fun to get caught up with BJ, have a chat here. And I got to say, one thing really stood out to me, I hope you enjoy it, was the chat we had about Glenn Keeley and their time together, and just what happened with Glenn. We're coming up on the anniversary here in a couple weeks. It was March 24th, 2000 that Glenn passed away, one of the best ever from Canada. And BJ takes us back to that day in this show. So stay tuned for that and enjoy the show. Again, I'm Ted Stoven. He's Wasey Anderson. This is Cowboy Shit, episode 112 for the week of March, I guess 8th and
March 8th to 9th
in 2022. Thanks for listening. We'll be back here in a bit. Well, welcome back to the show. Thank you to our next guest for joining us. 5 times he competed at the PBR World Finals. He had 2 event wins at the PBR's elite level. He's originally from Crooked Creek, Alberta, now making his home in Morristown, Tennessee. Please welcome to the show, BJ Kramps.
Hey guys.
Thanks for doing this with us. We were just talking. We've never met in person. It's kind of like one of those things with we did a show a while ago with Rob Bell, and he's living in Louisiana now, but originally Canadian. So a guy that we looked up to a lot of the time when we were kids. Wasey, I'm sure you saw BJ in the 8 seconds program.
I was about to say, right? Even watching the PBR and OLN every weekend. BJ and Rob and all them guys were,
and Ruben too.
Yeah, fellas we'd grow up watching and getting it was the 8 Seconds magazine, wasn't it?
Yeah, at the local drugstore. That was like our gateway to bull riding when I was.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be in this moment now, to be able to like Ted mentioned earlier. We had that interview with Rob over last winter, and now being able to chat with BJ. It's pretty cool. Also, one thing that I noticed too is BJ is like one of the few guys who rode on tour wearing a TK vest. And when I was competing, I rode with a TK vest. So it's cool.
Very few of us.
Yeah.
Troy Dunn wore one for a while. He wore one for a while, but they're few and far between. Not very many of us used them.
So maybe that's something you can touch on is like, why did you choose to do that hard shell vest as opposed to the other like softer shell, like equestrian style vest?
It just, I mean, it's like asking about why'd you take the $100,000 job? I mean, I take a baseball bat to you wearing each one and let me know how you feel after the first swing.
That's a good point.
One of the things I found with it too is it kept like my posture right. Like it was easier to keep my chest stuck out with the TK vest as opposed to like with the Phoenix like softer shell vest. It's easier to slouch and kind of get that hump in your back, whereas the TK like kept you kind of upright and your chest out. And then when I was down at Gary LaFuse for the week, he taught me a trick of like loosening up the one side where your free arm is on the when you do it up, so you had a bit more movement with your free hand. But anyways, that was a cool thing to know. Yeah.
Well, one little tidbit on there that this is kind of funny to touch on that. I mean, hardly anyone would ever even bring that up, right? They don't even notice the equipment unless you wear it. You just don't even. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing is, I would order a large back and a medium front.
That's what I did too.
Just, I would bring that size down. Yeah. Okay. Just like what you're talking about the free arm.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's neat to know, like, I'm an equipment nerd, whether it be with rodeo or even hockey stuff. It's neat to see like the modifications that every guy makes to like their own certain style and stuff. It's neat to see.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of where to start here now, BJ, but I think we just go on to the career side of things. I'm looking at some stuff here on Pro Bull Stats, and I watched a bunch of the videos on YouTube and on your YouTube channel. And I guess first thing I that came up here is 2004 World Finals. You got on a lot of rank bulls that week. Holy smokes! Crossfire, Hurricane, Splinter, Reindeer, Dippin', Scene of the Crash. That was a pretty rank week of bull riding there.
Yeah, it would have been really great to stay on one. That would have been like so different. But the major thing you want to go into the finals with is knowing it's all about consistency. Okay, so I mean, you just want to hit it. Yeah, and well, anyone can whine about little injuries and stuff like that. But anyway, I was struggling a little bit with something just in my grip or in my neck. I had surgery on it, early in the next year. But at the time, you think the injury's in your shoulder and it's really in your neck. And anyways, whatever. But that was a long week falling off all them bulls. Like that sucked. Yeah.
I guess to wear on the body. Well, why don't we jump into the beginning? Like, where'd you start? Like, how'd you from Crooked Creek, Alberta, like Teddy mentioned in the beginning, like where'd you get your start and how'd you get that pathway to the PBR's elite level?
Gotcha. Yep. So, my parents both rodeoed. My dad competed in the CPRA. He was mostly rode bareback horses and, he was good, but not great. Like got real close to making the Canadian finals a couple times. He was 11th, that kind of thing, and so he had dabbled in the pro rodeo world. Mom just, rodeoed amateur. And so I went with Dad and I rode sheep. And I mean, I thought I was on tour, buddy. Like I took my own rope. And I mean, it was, I can remember Jack Danes announcing, when I was, so anyway, went with Dad and, the sheep turns into steers. And then I got to riding steers fairly well. And in the CPRA, they had that boys steer riding. And so from way up in northern Alberta, that's really when I was 12, I took out my pro card and went to the Hobima Christmas Rodeo. And I, started, Dad said, I'll take you to the first one. So Dad took me to the Hobima Christmas Rodeo. And then he told me I was on my own. And the next weekend, I found a ride with Dawn Link, and she came by my house, and we went all the way down to Medicine Hat. It took me forever to get home, but I used to take the Greyhound bus down to Marathorpe, jump in with Denny Golden and Travis Rie, and so it was a few hours away. My mom taught me to lie and say I was a year younger. Even when I turned 13, she told me to lie and say I was 12. So we got half price fare on the bus. It sounds like child abuse now, but like riding the Greyhound bus in Canada, like you don't do that in the US. Like, so you gotta like explain to people that like normal people take the bus. Cause anyways, but yeah, I just literally kind of hitchhiked, but in the rodeo world, like just like we were talking
12.
About before we came on air.
That's rodeo.
Yeah. So well, every time I got there, it was like, oh, well, wait a minute, well, you're Dave Kramps' boy, right? Oh, okay. Well, hey, you need a place to stay. And then, I mean, it sounds funny from the outside to think I just catch a ride to the first one, and then you show up and go, hey, who's going to Armstrong? And well, I mean, anyone welcomes you in. And so I went around, and then when I got to the last rodeo of the weekend, Wasey, I'd look at a program, and I'd just try and figure out what guy lived the furthest north, and then just go, hey, does anyone know this bulldogger? You know, be like, hey, I'm a steer rider. And of course, they'd go out of their way to help you. Yeah. But that's what got me into the pro rodeo world of going back and forth. At the time, you know, we didn't drive a vehicle that was going to make it, you know, down south to the rodeos or whatever. So I hitched around, and then, you know, the animals got bigger, went to college in Twin Falls, Idaho on a rodeo scholarship.
Yeah,
our
CSI
team won a national title, but you know, I mean, it was my first year. I wasn't really a part of that a whole bunch. And then I turned professional, you know, and in 98 was the first year I rode in the PBR. And then quit in 2005, you know, and so I went to the finals 5 out of those 7 full years that I competed, and managed to stay on tour, I guess, quite a bit of the time in there, which was just, I guess, the funnest thing of my life, is just getting to be on that tour and make a living for such a long duration.
You, when I was doing some research, I found that I watched a clip, and your mom won on the team roping side of things. Where did she do that? Was that some of the CGRA stuff, or where?
Yep.
Where did she win that?
Yep. My mom, she was the Canadian champion in that CGRA. Now that would be like in 1989 or 90. Like it's, you know, so mom was active when I was, you know, 8, 9, 10, 12. I mean, she was active. My dad maybe would be riding around that time. So they were active, you know, when I was young. And then, you know, us kids kind of took over as they got out of it.
So Denny Golden, that's a name I haven't heard in quite a while. And then Dawn Link, is that like Brad's mom?
Yes. No. Brad's wife.
Brad's wife is Dawn. Oh, yeah. Really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So she was a barrel racer from up in, so she lived up north of me.
Yeah, like high level or where?
Like high, she was
High Prairie. No, it would have been that.
No, it's. I was gonna say high level, but she lived in like La Glace, I think.
Oh, really?
Man, we're gonna have to fact check that. She lived somewhere kind of close, like La Glace. I was young. I don't need to. I'm not supposed to be able to remember. My parents made me make all the phone calls. So as a 12-year-old kid, total stranger, it was like, hey, here's Dawn Link's number. You call her, you know, and you ask her if you can get a ride to Medicine Hat, you know? And it was
That's
just
amazing.
Like, hello?
I wonder.
So over that time, did you eventually get like a group of people to travel with as you progressed further into the steer riding thing and went to more rodeos and competed, or was it just the same thing overall?
Well, I mean, with no driver's license, like, of course, until... So I was like, unless Rod Warren, who was from Valley View, but Rod never came back to Valley View hardly at all.
Daryl down south
was from Valley View, but he never came home either. I mean, I would see those guys and be like, "Hey, you going home?" They're like, "No." Like, so
and you're gonna be back to school. I'm like,
don't live up there. What are you doing? Like, you know, I mean, so to see Kent and Randall, you know, but even he was north of Edmonton. So anyway, yeah, catching a few of those guys. There was lots of hands that were kind of from around there, but yeah, I got a group of guys. I amateur rodeoed as I rode steers. I mean, we held cards in every association because they're all sudden death, right? You try and make the finals in the LRA and the NRA and the Wild Rose, and you know, and then you just try and show up and see what you can do.
So where did you go between steer riding in the CPRA and college rodeos? There's a little bit of a gap where you can't go to the pro rodeos.
Yeah.
That was probably the amateur times, I guess. LRA,
yeah, the amateur times. So the NRA, Northwest Rodeo Association.
Rio Grande.
Yeah.
Was your first win, hey Teddy?
Yeah, that was the first place I ever won in the steer riding, Rio Grande. Yeah.
I think well, those things.
The finals were like Fort St. John though, I think, weren't they? Back then, or where
they were? When I was a steer rider, they were in Chetwynd.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They were in Chetwynd. That's when Daryl Mills won the NRA.
When he was like 16, wasn't he?
I was a steer rider. I don't know how old he was, but he won I think he might have won the bareback ride that year too. Jesus. So if it's legit bareback rider, he rode bareback horses professional. I mean, it's on film somewhere. So, but he rode bareback horses in that NRA, and I mean, Ike Peters had a bull Darktown that nobody in the amateurs rode. Like nobody rode Darktown. He was He was a 22 bull, and nobody rode him. And then Daryl Mills rode him at the NRA finals, and spurred him a little bit, and he's 92 points. So that would have to be like, you'll have to look this up, Ted, but it might be like 1990,
in the NRA. I'm on the Wild Rose website right now. I can't even find like past champions. I know the only place where I could actually find that stuff would be in the programs at the finals. I remember looking back and seeing like Derek Adams on Dr. X. That was like a picture that was in the Wild Rose finals.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of names in there, and like I can remember some of that stuff, but I don't know where the heck a guy'd even find this stuff now.
Well, Daryl Mills will know what year he won it, and
Okay.
I can figure it out. But here's the funny thing. Like, the funny thing is, or I guess what makes me feel important is, like, way up there in that tiny little Chetwynd arena where like 28 people can sit on the left side.
Yeah.
Right? And like they're all family. So watching that and just watching like Daryl ride Darktown. Just being there for that moment, so remote, so middle of nowhere. And then, like, I'm going to say 5 years later, he was the champ. Like,
Yeah,
and 4 years after that, I mean, he was like just a few bucks from being the champ.
Yeah, wasn't it $12 or something, or it was less than $100, $95, right? In 90.
I thought it was like 20 or whatever it was. I thought it was $23, but anyway, less than $100. And so, but if you really just look at his resume, dude, it's just like wins this, wins this, and then just wins. Like, there's just, and then it's just like, oh, almost won the world. Okay, won it. Like, all right, like, there's nothing else to do. Like, I'll be in Pink Mountain if you need me.
Yeah,
or less, right?
Well, and one of the crazy things with Daryl is winning Canada after he won the world. That was interesting. That's kind of a rare one. Skipped a step.
So would Daryl been one of those guys who'd been like a mentor or influence for you, or who were kind of the people that you looked up to as you kind of progressed with the steer riding and the amateurs and that kind of stuff?
Right. So Wasey, again, this will be a little bit unique talking to me. Like, we didn't have much for television growing up. We had two stations, right? Canadians, like hockey and the other channel, right? So I mean,
and the news.
I remember
you got hockey or the news.
Yeah. So I remember the Calgary Stampede would come on, and like, listen, I only knew the bull riders who made like the top 10 and the top 4 of that, or an old NFR VHS tape that someone might have laying around. Like, no satellite television, never got to watch the NFR. The first time I met Tuff Edeman, it's the first time I'd ever seen the guy. 1998, and he introduced, like, I did not know. He never made the Calgary Final Four. I didn't know the man. Understand? So, no idea on, didn't pay attention, so from the bush.
Legit.
Yep. And, Greyhound bus, just trucking over. I took a Greyhound bus to the 98 finals.
Oh, shit. All the way to Vegas?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No, I was with Glenn Keeley at his girlfriend, at Christie's house, his fiance's house in Los Angeles. And like, when you're traveling with Glenn, I mean, even if you're frugal, he takes it to another level, right? So it was a $48 bus ticket, round trip in case I needed it, versus the flight was, $160. And it was just like, well, it's a 5-hour bus ride, and it's
really
like
not that bad. Yeah.
I mean, it's 5-hour bus ride, and it's going to take you 3 hours to fly the thing. And so it's just the class thing of showing up. I mean, you gotta, if you showed up, if you booked your flight to the PBR and you told them when your flight was, Ted, they brought you in a limo. So
Really?
you get off the plane, they'd have a sign for you because they knew when you're coming in. It'd say BJ Kramps, and then they put you in a limousine and take you to the Gold Coast or Mandalay Bay. Mandalay Bay, is that what
Caesars in 98, I think, wasn't it? Or was it MGM?
No. Well, MGM, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, 98,
MGM.
right?
MGM is where I competed in 98. So, I mean, they would take you into that, but I just rolled in on,
on the bus.
roll in on the bus. It's cool.
Yeah, and then took the city bus. Took the city bus to the MGM, probably.
That's like the shuttle. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Holy. Well, so, there's a lot of ways we could go with that. I gotta ask more of the northern stuff. I gotta just quick one here. Have the donuts at the gas station in Crooked Creek always been great, or is that just a recent thing? Is that new ownership?
It was new ownership. So growing up, we did not. Those Mennonites did not own that. They didn't have that business going. I was robbed. I was robbed of that.
Robbed. It's probably honestly though probably good for your bull riding career because we're just crushing donuts every weekend.
That's right. I would definitely would have been a sumo wrestler.
Yeah. Okay, so we get rodeo and like I look back at your career here on the it was Bud Light Cups at the time, and I think the PBR says your career earnings is like $150,000, which is kind of crazy. But like if you're only paying $48 a weekend for travel, you can actually still make some money at that in a few years of that, right? Like if you can travel really cheap and split rooms with people, like you're really not spending that much. So
I think my career earned that maybe that's just in the cups, right?
Just cups or something. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It seemed like it was light.
But still, like here's a really good picture, and this will kind of roll into the topic of where the money's at today too. Okay, so if you look, I think my career earnings are about like 235 grand or something like that is what they kind of calculate to, if I remember right. So I rode bulls for like 7 years. Like it's kind of a lame wage when you really kind of look at it and just do the math on
risking your life too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you do that, okay. So that in and of itself is fine. But in those years, I would do promotional work for the PBR, right? So I lived
the PR stuff
like a gypsy. So they always had guys going in early, and they would do you'd talk radio, television.
Yeah, they still do.
West. Yeah,
and they still pay for your room, and they pay for your meals, and they pay for a few things.
Well, and they pay you $1,000, bring you in a couple days early, and so you're getting paid. So listen, so I did that. So I kind of like had this rolling job where you didn't have to fly home to Canada. And then with the sponsorships and the whatever else, I mean, I don't know if I would have been making $75,000 a year or something if you looked at my total income in those years. And then, like I probably had a $50,000 a year lifestyle. And I promise you, I do have that 25,000. I still have it.
You saved it. You actually saved money while you were riding bulls at the top level.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I'm.
That's impressive for that. I'm impressed.
Not a lot of guys do that. It's be tough to find. Like, it's a very small percent of guys who actually have that foresight to put away and save some money.
I don't think there was anyone else that I traveled with. No, I'm being mostly joking there, but probably serious.
Nobody else in the bus was saving their pennies to travel, right?
Yeah. So if you joke around with Kelly Armstrong and Austin Beasley and Curtis Anderson, they always used to say I'm the richest man in rodeo. And anyway, it was just a standing joke because I bought them Red Bulls one time coming out of a gas station. But yeah, guys, when they first. Like, here's how hillbilly I am. I mean, when they first had Justin McKee, he came to me after I won Worcester in 99. And I was in the top 5 or whatever at the start of the year. And Justin McKee came to me and he said, BJ, he said, listen, man, he goes, start washing your riding jeans. Like, why would anyone wash their riding jeans?
What's the
like,
point?
Why? Why, Justin?
But like, he was trying to... There was another time we went to an event where it was one of those things like that MGM where it was a casino deal and the event center was inside the building. It was in one of the Dakotas.
It's not Uncasville, Connecticut. I remember that one. It was a casino at Mohegan Sun, wasn't it?
Okay,
or was that
it might be that event. Okay, it might be that event. And we're staying there, and I went to go get like a coffee cup out of my car, like a to-go mug. Couldn't find my car. Eventually, long story short, figured out by calling up like it's stolen or try to call it in stolen, missing. Well, it's been towed to this yard. We called the yard like, hey, why'd this thing get towed? They're like, well, let us look it up. And they're like, oh yeah, it's such and such casino. I'm like, well, that's where I'm staying. I called down there and they're like, Mr. Kramps, we're so sorry. We thought that car was abandoned. Like a rusted white Oldsmobile, and they thought it was abandoned. And I'm on tour, like I'm on the whatever level, you know, with all the riders and like they're treating us important, you know. But I mean, I learned to park across the street and walk to autograph sessions. Like I drove an 89 Oldsmobile. I'll send you a picture of it, or you can look it up on yeah, but it's anyway, I was frugal. I owned a $1,600 car because when they're parked for 3 months in Denver, you know, it doesn't make much sense that it would cost 3 times that.
Jeez.
That's like, but that was like ingrained in you from the beginning, like having to call for rides, take the bus, like that lifestyle and that way of rodeoing was how you done it from the beginning. So nothing had really changed as you climbed up the ladder.
That's an excellent observation, Wasey. So I can remember. I mean, yeah, our mom when we're at those amateur rodeos, you know, teaching us. So we were never told like, well, we can't afford that, son. Like, no, supreme confidence, right? So it was like, listen, guys. You see those people over there wasting $23 in that hotel room? Not smart. You know, it was just like, you know, those people they'll never make it, you know, and it was just like, let's just shovel the horse shit out of the back of the trailer and lay down some straw, throw down the foams and put our sleeping bags out.
Tarp first. Tarp, then sleeping bags. Yeah. That's wild. So, holy, I don't know. I'm stumped as to what to ask next, but we got to ask money. We got to ask the money side because I was just going back to your PBR thing where it showed me that it was 100 and this is PBR.com today. It shows, oh, this is the wrong thing. I was trying to find your profile on the PBR website because that shows some of the stats there. It was pretty slick. But it said like 150,000 but you won. You really had good luck in Grand Rapids. You were first and second there in back-to-back years, I think. Won like 19,000 one year, and I think the year you won it, you won 20 grand. So 20 grand in 2003 is worth what now, like 45 or 50? I'd have to look at a inflation calculator. But it actually, the payouts really have not improved much in the last 25 years is what my point is.
Yeah, I'm not completely current on how their payouts work or what they're making, you know, at the end of these shows and stuff, or how much they're riding for the.
I could tell you right now. Let me look it up here. I just saw LA. LA is tomorrow night. And it's 5,000 around, and then it was like it's not a whole lot different. Is my point is I'm trying to.
Well, what's Stetson win in St. Louis when he won it? Like 667.
He won a bit extra because he won some money in the 15-15. But sorry, please proceed.
No, yeah. So sometimes that stuff is and then it just depends what else they have going on, right? Like how many other bells and whistles. So for instance, you know, we had the Built Ford Tough Challenge, you know, we had the Mossy Oak Challenge. So you've got these little other things, but again, it all still matters to what did the 15th guy make this, you know, what did the 15th guy end up with at the end of the year? And this year, or take the 25th guy, you know, and then you just, I can remember us voting for the payout, you know, way back when I started, guys, Cody Lambert, I mean, well, he was done riding, but some of those board members still competed. Okay. The Carrillos were board members. So sometimes in the dressing room, I can remember Cody coming in and going, hey, listen, Tony Mendes and Dan, I'll think of his name in a minute. Hendricks. They're not going to make their flights. Like, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to, like, do we ban them for a year because they're missing an event? You know, they were at a rodeo. Do we just replace them in the short round? Like it was like a board meeting, and we're just there because, you know, we're at the event, but so many of the riders were competing. It was just like this executive decision was being made in that boardroom. Well, the 20 guys that formed that thing, I mean, they're in their 50s, right? I mean, they're
now.
Yeah. So, but back then, buddy, it was a different deal. And that was, I mean, Tough was majorly all for the rider, you know, even though by the time I showed up, he never got on a bull after I was there, but he was an advocate for sure.
So I got to ask about that, but I'm looking back to the last one on record on the website is 2005, and you got McBride winning 1.5. Guillermo has $500,000. Then you get down everybody in the top 10. Not everybody in the top 10. Ross Coleman and Tony Mendez didn't make $100,000, and they're top 10 in the world. You go down a few, there's a couple guys, one-offs that made over 100, but it's mostly like 50, 60, 40, 40, 50, 60. Like you'd have to go get a spreadsheet to go, because then 05 was still top 45, right? But another Canadian guy, Matt Roy's 48th. He made 16,000, 48th in the world. Like he's just, they don't. I feel like that's 05. That was all PCB money, I think, because that was the first year. That was last year before it changed, because it went
PBR Canada
06.
Yeah,
when shifting won it, but still, like it's almost starving the secondary guys a little bit. It seems like still, but I'm just making a point on that side of it. But
well, the reason I brought that up is we got to vote on the payout. So us guys, we got to vote. We got to structure the payout. So back in the early, I mean, man, it was nice. Like you got to run the deal, right? Or feel like you did. So I remember the reason I remember it so well is Mike White. Like there was several different things to choose from, but you kind of got like your A, B, C, D. B and C were like the two normal things that everyone was going to pick, and like A and D, obviously weren't going to make the short list. You understand? And A.
So what was the difference?
Well, I'm just trying to get to the fact that like, B was like, hey, the number one guy makes this, number two guy's like it kind of made sense. D was like, hey, everyone gets a participation trophy.
My fire alarm just going off here, Teddy. Or it was. Now it's
Go
off.
ahead.
No, it's on.
It's back. Okay, Wasey's got to bail.
I got to bail.
In a bit.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Watch out for the fire. Okay. Okay, so
but D was just like, they really
everybody
spread
gets
the money thin. A was just like, it was all at the top. Like the winner, like the rounds paid everything to the winner, and the average paid everything winner, where like, the third guy didn't get nothing for the weekend. And Mike White I remember him being right behind him in line. It was all confidential, but he just checked that box A. Like he was everyone there's pretty confident, Ted, but he was so convinced he was going to win first that like he was losing money if he didn't check that box A, which was just the winner got everything.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Huh. And it kind of makes sense. Like you have to incentivize it a bit. And you got to incentivize it to win. It, I guess, just seems like some of the guys on the cusp. Like one example recently is Dakota Butter, a guy from up here that wants to ride at that high level, but goes down there. And one example is like there's an event this week in LA, and he goes, he didn't.
They turned her off as a false alarm, I think.
Good deal. But so we're talking about payout. Payout and Dakota Butter. Dakota goes to LA to the last Cowboy Standing, I think they call it.
He lost money when he was down there.
Yeah, he goes and makes $2,000 for finishing in the top 4, because that one is a number. It's an A in the checklist where the guy at the top wins all the money, and then everybody else gets a little bit. It's advertised as good because the guy that wins $100,000 or 200 or whatever. But
they showed a graphic after that weekend, and the guy who won the PBR Australia event in Australia won more money and points than Dakota did for finishing second at the last Cowboy Standing.
Yeah, 4th. He was 4th, but
wherever he finished. Yeah, sorry, yeah. But it's kind of silly how that all works out.
But this kind of goes back a little bit though, BJ, to Tough almost essentially, because Tough stood up for the riders and then they kicked him out, didn't they? He left because he went and started the CBR around. Well, definitely when you were there, right? Didn't it happen in Florida or Reno? It all went down, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was there at the divorce meeting. It was we all gathered there. There's not near enough time, nor would I want to really talk about that probably too much or say too much without that them other guys can talk about all that. There was a lot of moving parts there going on as to why, he left and ended up going to start that. But the money there, I mean, I recognize that. I see that and okay. I would have to do more research before stating, but I'm going to say that it was still a problem. I remember talking to my father. I'm fairly smart business-wise, and I remember sitting up in Crooked Creek, Alberta, on dial-up internet, booking plane tickets to go all the way down to Florida and then over to North Carolina and then to fly to the Touring Pro Finals in Denver, and what it was going to cost in the flights, the entry fees, and just mapping it all out. And I looked, and if I placed fourth everywhere, okay, so it's interesting you said fourth. I remember just going like that. If I win fourth, like I'm, it doesn't work. Like I can't make any money. And then just at that point, listen, I've been on tour for a while at this point. Like this is coming back off an injury. It's like, and it was just like, listen, just just go. It's business. So you just go. And I mean, I went, it's neat because I went down there and then you win and it all makes sense. But listen, I'm happy to say that the prize money hasn't kept up with inflation, but I do want to say that bull riding's never going to make any financial sense. You're never going to make any financial sense of it. So to sit around and have the discussion is a bit, I mean, if that's what if you really want to, make a terrific income, I mean, that is not an area that I would pick and try and figure out that this guy ought to be made, I mean, it's just, yeah. So I think it's always been a problem, and being so far away, it keeps people from going. So Denny Golden rode a lot better than I did, but he just didn't go, for whatever reason, right? So yeah. Going is part of the skill set. Financial management, Ted, financial management is part of rodeo. So it's part of it. All this stuff, he had great talent if he just wouldn't have drank. Well, listen, putting down the bottle is part of life, right? So whatever it is, I mean, listen, I would have beat Usain Bolt if he wasn't quicker. So I mean, where does that kind of, and so I'm just saying, going and that expense of going, listen, that was the whole reason for me not to go, right? That's the whole reason for all that stuff, and never made any fun. And I was an NBA bench player, right? Like I wasn't Troy Dunn. It was impressive to be around Troy. Like he flew over and just won at will. Like, that little trip I was telling you about where the flights didn't make sense. I mean, Troy did that from Australia. They cost $2,000, and he just said, "Yeah, I'll just fly over for 3 events. Like, surely I'll win 2 of them." And when he did,
wow.
Like it just so to be able to do that, and just watch those guys at that level, I thought I was going to be the champ, Wasey. Like I thought I was 100% sure I was going to get home and talk about being the champ, and like every year was just going to be another chapter of how I got there. And dude, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm done. And this never happened. And the cool part, Ted, is just that I went, and I know that the best that I ever was 23rd. There's nothing I could have done to finish any higher in the world standings. That is as good as I was.
That was your peak, was 23.
Yeah. I mean, well, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, if you do everything you can, at least you're not sitting at home saying you could have done something.
Yeah, you tried.
At least you're not home sitting there saying you could have. And so that's what the fear of failure is. Like the fear of failure is if you eat right, if you exercise, like if you actually gave 100%, and you don't win, man, it's humbling. Like, I mean, I finished 23rd, and then the next year I stopped drinking, which was a part-time job at the time, and ate correctly and exercised and got on practice pools almost every day. So just like, I mean,
and where did you live?
Where I lived with Tony Mendis in Vernal, Utah when I did this.
Okay.
So in 2000 and in the year 2000, was it 2001? No, 2000. I traveled with him. That's when I quit drinking because he didn't drink. So I traveled with him. And I mean, I did all of that because the year before a couple years before, I just living like a cowboy and party and just, whatever, right? I can do this. I can ride these bulls with one hand. And then I'm like, okay, I can't beat these guys, or whatever. Like we're stalling out here. So let's try and give it that extra whatever. And so I did. And man, like I can't tell you how humbling it is to know that you're going to win in that arm wrestle and then just get beat. Like, I have a lot of respect, just to compete at that level and to see that those guys that were, I can say it now, like Mike Lee was better, and Troy Dunn, like those guys were better riders than me.
And was it what made him better? That's my next question.
With Mike Lee, it's like an accident. I mean, so to sit there and talk to the guy, he's a high level thinker. He doesn't put it into words very well and word it very well, but he understands the physics of bull riding. Like, so when you're sitting there, he didn't hardly open his mouth for the first 6 months he showed up, didn't talk. And then I remember us just discussing some bull. Ruben was talking about some bull and how he took off out of there. He would squat in the chute and he'd take off and he'd get you way back here. And we were talking about that bull and just, I forget what bull that is. And just, how to get by him or what you're going to do. And then finally Mike's like, can I say something? Rides twice as good as us. He's been around for like 4 months. He's won, 5 of the 8 events he's been to. Can I say something? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you guys were always trying to, and he was just talking about dropping and down and the way he got to the front end. And anyway, just, it was interesting. But Troy, I don't think Troy ever really thought through any of his mechanics of anything he ever did. I mean, he just, he's not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Cool steer riding story. Back when I rode steers way, I showed up in Cranbrook, British Columbia as a 12 or 13-year-old steer rider, and we would get on the fence to watch a few bulls. One of them was called Kathmandu, a black bull, might have been a Northcott bull. Jump out there and spin to the right real fast, throw most guys off. So we'd get up there to watch him and this other bull named Copenhagen Payment, So
that's a Northcott bull.
Yeah. And maybe it was a Weatherly bull. Well, anyway, I don't know who's over there in Cranbrook or wherever we're at, but Kathmandu, this black bull, he just jumps out and gins it to the right, which is into Troy Dunn's hat. Now, no one knows who Troy Dunn is. And so
he showed up in Canada too. That was his first stop, right?
Right. So he's up in Canada. He's riding bareback horses and bulls. Nobody knows him. None of us steerers know. And so it's a rodeo crowd. So it's silent, like no one's making noise. And it late gate latches, and then it's just, just the outside leg. And all the steer riders are just, and he just spurs that bull. It seemed like the ride took forever. No crowd noise, no nothing. And just no one cheering, and just spurred the life out of that bull. And then jumps off inside of the spin, because he rides right-handed, and just steps forward and doesn't even look behind him. And so anyway, we thought he was He-Man. And like, it was another cool thing because he hadn't been nowhere like yet, this was 1990 or 89 or whatever, in 1990, I guess. And so we saw this guy, you know what I mean? It's like seeing just before he went down to the States, he came over to Canada first, and it was like, we didn't forget his name after that. And one of the coolest moments for me is in 98, maybe my 4th cup, I led it into the short round, and I got on a bull called Hollywood. Didn't know him at the time. Everyone did, but didn't know him at the time. And so I'm getting on, and I'm sitting there, and someone says, this bull, don't you, BJ? Kind of, shrug my shoulders, and they were maybe talking about him or something, and maybe I wasn't listening. And so Troy Dunn's just over here, and maybe they're kind of talking negative, like, oh, he's strong, or you know what I mean? Like, just crap you don't want to hear. And so Troy's just right here. Troy's seen me ride at these 4 events. I don't even know that he knows my name. You understand? Like, so I've been at these 4 events. Maybe I've stayed on a couple of bulls, whatever. And so he's just right here, and he just looks at me and he goes, I twisted him, mate. I reckon you will. Just, and I'm telling you, like, Troy meant that, like, after getting to know him, and he flew me over to Australia a couple times. Like, after getting to know him, like, man, Troy believed that with every ounce of his being. Like, Troy just believed, if I can do it, like, surely you can. Just the opposite of what you teach your kids. Like, hey, if that guy can do it, you can. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that guy.
The kind of guy you want to be around.
Yeah.
That guy's on another level. Like, he was the best. Chris Shivers. Oh well, there's a lot of guys, but Troy, he's just the most consistent, just the most. In my career, riding against somebody like that, and again, I rode against Terry Don West and Chris Shivers and, Adriano and stuff, but man, Troy was just.
What was it like being part of that era of bull riding? Like for like Ted and I, that's the era we grew up watching, and it's kind of almost the golden age. You have the guys like Chris Shivers, Adriano, Justin McBride, Detroit Downs. Like, what was it like being part of that group of guys?
And I can remember. So again, everything's accident. I didn't pay attention to anything. You guys know Derek Adams, so you talk to Derek. The whole reason he'll probably take credit for my entire PBR career, because when we were in the East Run over in Morris, I drew some piece of garbage that I was just going to turn out. So we're sitting around, in the hotel room at 10 a.m. and going to turn out that day. Okay, this is back like in my wild years, and so I'm turning out. And Derek needed a ride down to Thief River Falls. That's really what he needed, not what he said. He was like, "Hey, Bob, you want to enter this bull ride?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go nowhere. I don't want to do nothing." And he's like, "Well, let me just see if there's room." And he called down there, "Hey, Ken, is there still, there's 5 spots? Well, here, put in Bobby Joe Kramps." And I'm in the background going, "Hey, oh." Well, I had a pickup. I had Scott Leclerc's truck. And so I ended up riding at Thief River Falls that night, and I happened to win, and then whatever, and it paid well. And so then it was like, oh, well, now you can go here and here. And so when I got to that, I went to Houston, they called me up. They're like, "Hey, you made it onto the Cup Tour." I'm like, what's the Cup Tour?
No way.
100%. So you can ask Scott Leclerc,
City is the municipality holding primary sales.
We got fire alarms. We got Siri.
Shut up, Siri.
Heck of an episode.
So I used to drink a lot, right? I used to just be a party guy, and so I would find an older, responsible guy that rode really good, whoever was the best in the area, and I would buddy up with that guy, and just go with him. So for me, from being up north, when I turned pro in Canada, I went with Scott Leclerc. He's from up north. And I'm like, "Hey, Scott, here's my credit card. Here's my Interact card, whatever it was at the time. Here's, buy my membership cards, book my tickets. Here you go. I'll show up. Here's my money." Right? So that's the plan. Book me with you. And now you've got a responsible secretary is what you've really got. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's still not forgiven me. But anyway, so I went to go with Scott. And so when we flew down to our first event, when we were going down to Texas, we rented a car and we were driving by the MGM, and Scott said, "Hey, there's the MGM." He goes, that's where they hold the PBR finals. He said, "That's where, all Adron and all them guys are riding." He goes, "Could you imagine if we were riding there, this fall in the PBR finals?" So this is me. I'm like I'm looking at Scott. I'm like, "Well, didn't you get our cards in that?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, okay." I just, and so when I got to my first one, which again, I didn't understand the cups. I didn't understand the PBR. I just, whatever, Scott bought the cards. So when I got to, and then they called me after running Thief River and they're like, "Hey, you're an alternate for this event in Houston." And I went down there. Well, I saw Clint Bronger. Well, I knew him. He made the 50,000 round,
That's your boy. The Bush tapes. He's on the Bush tapes.
Yeah, so here's a few of these guys, and I just remember thinking, oh, here's where everyone is. And Scott, so I was there with Scott Bredding. Well, I knew he
went to Calgary. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm there with Wade Joyelle and Glenn Keeley and Scott Bredding, and Cody Custer is there. So that's probably the cool. I watched him be the champ. And Glenn was, but I knew Glenn, we'd known him for a while. So, but I wasn't, so I knew a few of those guys. So I knew who they were, but not any kind of idolizing, nothing like that. But it was oh, and so everyone's here. And it just instantly fell in love with it. Instantly with that dynamic. rodeo made no sense to me anymore at that time. It was just like, hey, I can go and compete against guys that can't even ride near as good as me and hope that I can get a better bull, or I can hang out here. And it's tough on your self-esteem because I can ride 75% of them at home, but I can, I'm currently at 33% down here. Like it battles with it's harder. They got a lot more ranker bulls in a lot different areas. Jerry Nelson can bring 80.
Well, especially at that time too, where it was such a drawing contest, and it still is to this day at the rodeos. But you win a lot more money on the average bull rides at a rodeo than you do at a PBR nowadays. But you're constantly getting on those top bulls every weekend. So it's a whole other ball game.
Yeah, they really. I mean, just that was just such a big deal, and I mean, it took judging out of it. Like Ednei Comenius, I just saw him the other day. Like, you think he had the political strength to win a world title? Like, you think they gifted him a few because he was good looking or looked classy or riding? Like, I mean, so there's your proof. Like, it's just like, listen, anyone can go do it. So you don't have an excuse anymore. It's not judging. It's just who can stay on.
It's a riding contest, how it should be, really.
I've thought different times that the point system, they should just throw that completely out the window, and whoever rides the most bulls wins. Just it'd make it really, really extremely totally simple. Whoever stays on the most wins. Like I'm curious to go back on Pro Bull Stats once in a while. I remember doing it one time with Slade, and it was pretty close to where the guy that stayed on the most, he was the world champ.
I was just gonna say it lines up pretty close, anyways, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Okay,
right?
because so here's a little bit insight. When I would set goals for myself, it's really difficult when you're trying to win. It can be a real emotional battle because there's some things out of your control. So what I ended up doing for my confidence and sanity is just setting riding percentage goals, right? And so I never cracked 50%, but 55% was the goal. And Chris Shivers won the world, I think, in 2000, riding 55%. And so I was like, listen, I'm not trying to win the world anymore because it's just really discouraging. I'm just going to try and win, just ride 55% of my boat. Because if you ride 6 out of 10, like, you'll win. Like, you don't have to line up what you want. You just do that and you'll win. And so the riding percentage was, that's back before you could pick your bulls or any kind of, drafting, anything like that, just, straight up. But anyway, I mean, it was fun. Like, it was fun. You talk about the different fun events. I mean, just some events were better to you than others. And, you won different places and,
Well, I got to go back to the divorce meeting with Tough. I remember reading the Fried Twinkies, Buckle Bunnies, and PBR, like that book, and that kind of talked about it a little bit, but it didn't get into too much detail. I know you said you didn't want to go too far into that, but I'm really interested in what happened there and what the feeling was, and whatever you can say.
Yeah, it was about him putting on his own event. He'd had an event in Fort Worth that was a PBR event for years. I mean, I rode there. It was really good. He brought in, just like the finals, he brought in everyone's bulls. If you got a bull from California, it was there, right? So he did stuff like that, but I don't think that the PBR made any money off that event.
It was tough. He made the money on it. He probably produced it and had, as one of the founding members, he brought that event on, and he probably took the risk on it in the beginning too, probably.
Right. So then it was like the PBR as an entity wanted, was like, hey, we can grab a different venue and make X in that weekend. But of course it's a loss for him. And so that's where that kind of, went. And it was just like, well, yeah. And then so it's not that I didn't want to talk about it. I just mean that I don't have all the details. It's not like, but that's
where it started.
Happened. And I rode at a few of those CBRs, and I have a lot of respect for Tough, and he's a good guy.
But that was the year. Was it 03 or 04 where he actually went off on his own? That was when it happened, wasn't it?
2000.
Or was it 02?
I was gonna say it was earlier. Like I was gonna say it was 2001. No, it's got to be I
02
got
or
hurt.
3?
I got hurt in 2003. I don't know. I'd have to take a look at that again.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't ride for most of 2003. I think it has to be 4. Like I think I have a tape of myself. I rode Promised Land at one of those events, and I thought it was in 01.
Oh, at the CBR?
Yeah.
Let's go back to do this now.
I thought that was in 2001. But anyway, he that's what it was. And it was just over his event, and it was going to be a PBR sanctioned event or not. And he was like, "Well, I'm still having it." Then it was like, "Well, no, you're not." You know what I mean? Like,
jeez, that's what it came down to.
Yeah. Like, so.
Huh? And that was the biggest trouble but didn't he have a few other events? Like wasn't Biloxi, Mississippi, and like Bossier City, weren't those kind of like tough events? Or how did that happen? Or did just some of the promoters end up going with tough? Or
Oh, no, yeah, just a bunch of people went with them, and very few, and Terry Williams, and yeah, I mean a bunch of those guys
went with
they
tough.
left with him, just like the BRO formed, and and then a bunch of people went this way. Like, who knows? I mean, perhaps Tough was thinking everyone would follow, but
yeah, geez, isn't that a kind of a sad time though, where like, don't you think the PBR would have been better off with a guy like Tough for the next 20 years? Like, that's a pretty awful breakup, isn't it?
Yeah, and listen, one thing about Tough, like that autographs are like, I know what it's like to just be in the venue and people know your name and whatever, but like him, with that movie and like it was
right after 8 seconds, right? That was 95.
Yeah. So when you go out to sign autographs, I would be around in 25 minutes, something like that, right? Big deal. Like, I mean, for him and Chris, I mean, it's an hour and 25 minutes. Sometimes I'm just out there and they're like, "Hey, have you seen Chris? Or where's Tough?" And so, those guys got to take a selfie with everybody, like every time they're at the hotel. So whenever you talk to Tough, like, when you get to talk to him for like 15 minutes, it's just like this biggest privilege because he's always running away from somebody. So when you're sitting there talking to him, someone comes up because they're trying to, and so he was a great ambassador. He went around and signed autographs every single event. Whereas like when Ty took over as the president, when he got to the finals, like if you didn't sign autographs, I think they fined you $500. So they paid you $500 for coming or something like that. Like when Ty got to the finals, he had to write a check for $3,500. Like they pay you $5,000 for getting to the finals. So he owed $8,500 in fines for not going and signing after the event. And Tough and listen, for him, a few $100 well spent. Like he just business decision. So I'm not criticizing him. Once you're the president, I'm just saying as an ambassador, Tough, he went out there like it was his company.
He put the time in. Yeah,
he had ownership. Like he acted like the PBR was his.
Huh. So, and I'm looking back now, and I just found the Promised Land 92.5 was in 2002 at a CBR event. It looks like so. So it would have been 01 maybe that the.
No, it would have been 02. That was pretty quick. Like when they got out of there, they
went right to some events.
Yeah, I think that was pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'll have to check whatever year. In 2001, Tough had his. I mean, we rode in Fort Worth in 01.
Yeah, it's on the schedule, right?
Yeah, so I mean,
02.
And then the event's in the spring, so I don't know if that was a cup event, too, at his place. But anyway, that's when it happened. So
yeah. Wow, I look back and I wonder about what could have been that way, and if that might have been the point where things really changed and some of the the rider side of things maybe went a different way. I don't know.
It still was okay for a while. I mean, there was a lot of guys that were still on tour, competing, and like Cody Custer. I mean, he was still riding when I was done, and it was really neat. Getting back to your thing when you're like, oh, what was that like to get around that group of guys? I mean, it was really cool to just like Clint Bronger's got a really good personality, and just just a really good guy, and so does Troy. Like, they're just, really good guys. And that competitive zeal that they kind of have, and to just see how that's universal, across the entire planet. And a lot of those guys were older. They were just older because it was the first time they could ride for that kind of money. And so they're like, well, I was going to quit, but I'm not going to quit now,
That's fair. Yeah, because it was $1 million. So that'd have been a game changer, because that first one was 2003 when Chris won it, right?
The first $1 million, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, but even just the regular money, like when Glenn first was in it, there was $1,000 fees into those cups.
Oh, really?
Yep. And Tough did not want to stop the entry fees.
Really?
Other riders did. Of course, Tough. Anything to add more to the pot, right, was a better thing for him. Just kind of like that Mike White confidence philosophy.
Yeah.
So I mean, there used to be $1,000 fees.
Really?
$1,000. Not for me. Never for me. When I got there, there was nothing. We paid an insurance cost, and eventually that went away. Rob Bell is pretty influential on the guy who got us all to get it paid $1,000 for the short round. So that year when we were voting on that payout, Rob was like, I just think if you make the short round, it'd be nice to get like $1,000, which basically like pays for your weekend.
Yeah.
And it was just like, hey, if you can make the short round, and by golly, everyone kind of like, yeah. And so we threw that 15,000. And so it was like, hey, we've got 30 more or 40 more, $5 more $1,000 in prize money for you guys every weekend. Where do you guys want it divvied up? Like, that's how it used to be. Whereas, now I think leadership is, there was a time there where I was on a committee, which was like a go-between between the board members and the riders, because there started to be that disconnect. It didn't really work out,
When was that? Was that when you were still competing, or was that after?
Yeah. When I was still competing, like 2004 probably. And, there was just, you could, I think we'd changed. There'd been some changes, and Tough was gone. And so it was just, just trying to get that through, that they could lead more by just different decisions. I mean, everyone, whenever the riders feel like they got to say so and stuff, just the way points are structured, money's structured, stuff like that.
And the extra like 45,000 a weekend, that's a couple $1 million more for the year. That was that a Randy Bernard thing? Like, was he the leader?
So I just made up the number 45,000 while we're talking, just
make it up.
Okay. So
yeah.
So, but they were just asking us, hey, where do you want
Someone's
that?
knocking on my door here.
Go ahead.
They just like, hey, how would you guys, are you happy with the pay? It was just like feedback, really kind of nice, right? For any boss, be like, hey, what's it like out in the mines?
What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I want to get into some of the memorable rides and wrecks throughout the career. I think a couple of them have got to be the Promised Land rides, and then I think that comes back to, I think I was looking at it, and to be able to ride Promised Land after what happened to Glenn, I think that had to be a huge, those had to be a little bit of emotional rides I'm just assuming. I don't know if this is true, but I had to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I don't know if emotional is the right word, but it's something that consumes your mind, right? So you just think, and, you have time. And so I visualized myself riding Promised Land a lot. I don't know. It's not like it's revenge or something. And who knows? I mean, we got time to think. We daydream about riding bulls. And so, for Glenn, and Promised Land wasn't even a mean bull. Like,
just was a freak accident, wasn't it? For those that don't know, Glenn Keeley was killed in Albuquerque, New Mexico, March 24th, 2000, at the PBR's elite level. Promised Land was the bull, and Glenn passed away that night in the hospital. You were probably there.
Yeah, I was at the event. I mean, I went over there to help him get his glove off, and we kind of had a big brother, little brother kind of thing where, he definitely didn't hesitate to yell at me for screwing something up, and I went to take his glove off, and and his arm flipped over. He'd broken his arm, right? So he's like, and he's giving me crap because I'd hurt him, and it was kind of like, it's funny, everyone's, because he's putting me down, and yeah, like he was joking. Like I stayed for the rest of the event, and then we drove his van like to go pick him up. I mean, none of us left to go to the hospital. So we went down there, and then when we walked to the hospital, they were like, "Are you guys from the rodeo?" And you could see they get you in a little room, and 3 minutes later, a doctor's coming in. And then I mean, you knew before he starts talking, kind of saying, "Hey, he came in, had some interior bleeding, and we opened him up, and and he died."
No way.
Yeah, and so I was having to make a phone call to John and Donna. A few hours, an hour or so later, I asked Tandy to come to my hotel room to kind of, because people are going to have questions, medical questions. Well, how are you going to? So Tandy come and help me make that phone call, and yeah, calling, his fiance and stuff like that. It's just trying to handle all that. So it's just a surreal thing. I can remember feeling so small, I guess, Ted. Like the next day I went to pick up his parents at the airport. Like I knew when they were getting in, like I'd called them, and I just had to have broke down piece of shit car. Like I went to go pick them up, or no, I had his van. Sorry, I had his van maybe, but like when I got there was this entourage. I mean, there was so many like to pick them up and I mean, it was like a limo service, or you know what I mean? Like it. And I'm like, oh, like I don't have to do all this by myself. And I think Tough flew Glenn home. I think Tough on his
I think
plane.
he flew him that night or something. I remember Justin telling us the story.
Yeah, he flew Glenn home. Like Tough's a good guy. And
it was that night, I think. Like I think Justin told me the story about like Glenn they all flew back together, I want to say, or something wild, like in the middle of the night or the next day. Like it wasn't even 24 hours, and Glenn was back in Canada, wasn't he?
I don't know how quick, I mean, with that border, whatever else, because, I mean, the event was the next night. I mean, I rode with Tough to that event, so he didn't leave. So, I mean, I know he was there, and, it was just different. I had to keep that under wraps for a little bit. I remember the secretary, just, so we'd come from there, but we needed to call John and Donna. And I remember Jay looking at me, the press secretary, just going, okay, so Glenn's out, right? And I just remember, just waiting to respond. He's like, he's got a broken arm. He's not riding tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, he's not riding.
And you knew at this point he already passed away.
I just got back from the hospital, and I'm trying to meet up with Tandy to make this phone call and to the parents and to the, no one knew. And we got a guy that's doing the draw for the next day. He needs to know if Glenn's competing. And I'm the only other Canadian. He's like, hey, like, is he in or is he out?
Jeez.
And it's just like, anyway, it's just a funny, just a really funny time to try and describe, and
it probably didn't seem real, did it? Like it probably didn't seem like that. Like it was, I just can't imagine what it was. What it would have been.
Yeah,
the only thing I can imagine is what it was like with Ty Posbon when it happened. I just didn't believe it for a while. I just couldn't believe it. It was surreal, I guess is the only word I can put with it.
I guess the surreal is probably a good thing. Just I was the only guy there, or just something about being the only one there. So just I just went to the hospital and they get you in a little room and then you're calling John. So I guess just that it was such a tight little circle, and in knowing that until I went to pick up his parents at the airport, and then everyone and their brother was there to kind of help and take that away, and just kind of what a relief that was, and then kind of seeing the rodeo community there, and then I think I drove his van home. I guess I hardly remember that, but I mean I would have took his van home to Nanton. I think I got Spud to help me drive it home or something.
What did the? Cause like when was the funeral? Was it a couple weeks later, kind of thing, or the next week, or because that was a. Everybody came up to that, and that was a
part. It wouldn't have been that long after, sure. Yeah. I mean, it would have. I'm sure I went straight from that event home with his van. I mean, there's no way I would have done anything else.
Did you compete the next day, or were you?
Yep.
You competed?
Yeah, I competed. I made the short round, and I mean, I was really hoping to ride Red Wolf for 16 seconds. Like that was and I spurred myself off him. But yeah, I mean, I had 2 down and was Owen Washburn rode Promised Land.
Yeah, that same the next day, or wasn't it? Right.
Yep. It was the very next day. I mean, it was just. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's just, I guess it's so quick because this little tiny circle, and I talked to his fiance Chris until the both batteries went dead on my phone, and then that's it. And and then the next day rolls around, and the event, kind of continues, and then then I'm in his van driving home, and the phone's not ringing. So it was just
How do you think that affected you as far as riding, and for him, how close you guys were at what was the feeling after that? Like, he was one of the top guys in the world at the point, wasn't he? 4th or 5th in the world, and to lose a guy at that point at the prime of his career.
He was having a really good year, and I mean, he's been the Canadian champ, and just arguably one of the best guys that can spur a bull that's ever been there. So it didn't affect. I guess it didn't affect anything. Then I guess something that's kind of neat or personal or whatever that so me and Glenn talked about stuff like that. Like we talked about dying and what if you died, and this and that, and just I mean I knew. I mean I made a phone call at the hospital on his life insurance policy. Like how they screw everything up with insurance. And I didn't want to, I mean, what else is there to do? And I can remember someone going, how are you making these phone, he just passed away. And I was like, well, I know if you don't report it within so many days, they deny this stuff. I said, and I don't know, so I just moved forward, Ted and Wasey, we moved forward just like we planned. We moved, nothing happened. I drove his van home. I didn't run the air conditioning because it was too hard on the engine, I mean, and just went and hung out with his parents, and that was the plan. Just kind of like with the pandemic, some people got this thing in their mind like dying's wrong. There's nothing wrong with dying. We're all going to do it, and so more of us died traveling to the things, I think, than ever died at them, and so. Anyway, it was just a privilege to get to know Glenn and get to be somebody. I won his award, that they made for him a couple times, and so I mean it's a privilege. I guess it just affected it by just being a really neat thing to remember.
What were those conversations like when you guys had them about what could happen being bull riding? Like, it's kind of one of the things I remember thinking about when I was doing it, because it's kind of something we had to think about. And I always thought, like, if I had died doing this, I was doing something I loved. It like what a better way to go was one of the things I remember it being, because that's something that every I guess I would say layperson or someone that doesn't know about bull riding, they don't realize that some of those folks never get to do what they love to do. So that was kind of my talk, but I'm curious what your guys' talks were.
It was, so with Glenn, everything was like, so he was just this old soul. I was the young fun guy who wanted to show up for the 10 a.m. flight at 9:45. And we would totally get on the flight and they'd just be announcing our names. I'm like, see, we skipped the line, right? Yeah. And Glenn wanted to be there an hour and a half early, and, just all responsible and business. And so those talks are just like, he doesn't want money wasted with this. And, it's stupid stuff. Like, it's just, this efficiency. Like, Glenn was so cheap, is the funniest thing. I remember us staying in a hotel, and the hotel was $18. Okay. So good job, Glenn. Got this hotel room, it was $18. Like, there was no sign. You couldn't even really tell it was a hotel. And I remember just waking up and I'm like, oh, got it. Yeah. I'm like, how much was it? He's like, $18. I'm like, wow. So you had $9 for the room. And then we got in there. There was no phone. and there's no clock. So we're driving from California to Texas with not a whole maybe 4 hours of playtime, right? Like you gotta, and I remember just going, well, and so we had to go to not Walmart, but some store, and Glenn bought a little clock, like a like it you plug it in.
Wind up clock.
Yeah, totally.
No,
He bought a clock, and that was smarter than buying an up-class room that had
a phone and a clock.
A clock and a phone.
Oh wow! You guys probably had that clock for a long time. It probably.
I won a bull riding at Johansson Brothers. Maybe it was just an open bull riding in Strathmore one year, and I remember driving to Strathmore from Calgary, and it was hot, and I was in my classy Oldsmobile, and I remember just turning on the air conditioning, just being like, forget it. Like in my own mind, no one's with me. I'm just like, I'm running this air conditioning. Like Glenn was so in my head about how running the air conditioning used gas, and it was hard on the engine, and it wasn't efficient. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm running the air conditioning, and I won that bull ride. And I just remember driving home feeling like King Kong, like I'd run the air conditioning. And by golly, we won, and it was, yeah.
Holy.
Yeah.
I want to talk about some of the memorable rides. We kind of got in that, and then I got sidetracked, but it was Promised Land was where I started. So what about some of the other memorable rides along the way throughout the career?
Yeah, different things stick out to different people. There was a bull called Rampage that I rode at. No. I'm saying his name wrong. Renegade, not Rampage. That Rampage, Troy Dunn rode him, not me. But I didn't draw him. There's a bull named Renegade that I rode at that event in Albuquerque. I'm pretty sure he was either there, and so like that bull was extremely hard to ride. There's no television footage of that, because it was on round one. So my memorable stuff for me is Hollywood throwing me off 4 times. Okay, so I don't want to talk and brag about how awesome I am. I just want to talk about how if I would have drawn him 4 more times, I don't think I ever would have got him rode.
Really?
Now that I'm retired, I can just say that. Yeah, he was tough. I wish I could ride Red Wolf again. Like I fell off some of the good ones where it's just like, where everyone, wins on this bull and
Mossy Oak Mudslinger.
Yep. Like
Kansas
falling
City.
off that bull, that sucked. Moody Blues, I was waiting on him to go back the other way. And so anyways, you got to ride all those easy. You got to ride all the
easy
the day off
bulls.
bulls. They don't ride themselves. And
I see a bad Bubba in Albuquerque. I got to look back for another Albuquerque.
Yeah, it'll be in 01.
Oh yeah,
Renegade.
Renegade, 87.5, March of 2000. That was the year. That was the event.
Yeah.
You got a Red Wolf in the short round, 47.5 they marked. Holy shit.
So that bull there.
Oh, he bucked you up the week before in Fort Worth.
He and you can look like I remember watching Ty get throw off him like 3 weekends in a row, and all I remember thinking is like, no one knows that I rode that bull. Like,
there's not even any film of it.
Yeah, like it should be on film somewhere.
Renegade. I'm gonna look him up here while you're thinking.
Yeah, he was a tough bull to ride. So in-law of HD Pages was a very difficult bull to ride. I drew him 4 times. I rode him 1 time. That's a good little YouTube. That I get knocked out on him, and that's a great story, Ted. So back in the TNN days, you would ride, but it wouldn't come on till like the next week, right? So it's like a week delay.
It's a week delay, yeah, I remember that.
So most of the time when you were on TV, you were competing somewhere else. But if you ever had a weekend off, you'd be available. So I remember having a weekend off in the spring, and we were going to go, me and Spud Whitman, we were in Pleasanton, Texas, went into a local bar to try and watch the bull riding. So Spud was pretty content to make a big deal that we were in there. I was more than happy to, not attract any attention. But anyways, he's wanting to, show everyone that we're on TV. And so we watched this event, and I get on in-law, and I remember, I was there, right? And so about the 3rd jump, he pulled me down, and I slapped him, and then sat up and rode him, okay? and then got welled, and he knocks me out. I take a nap. I get up a few minutes later, with everyone around me. They walk me out of the arena. Okay. I didn't realize I got knocked out. Like, I remember everyone being there, and I remember walking out of the arena, and I just remember telling Tandy, I'm like, no, like, he missed me. Like, I slapped him. He didn't hit me. Like, I thought I had no recollection of getting knocked out. Jeez. So we're in this bar. And I got on in the short round 25 minutes later. Did not do well. But I remember watching that on television, and then that bull coming around, and then watching myself sit there and sleep. And that was the first time I'd ever known that I got knocked out. You know what I mean? Really? Like, just watching that on TV, and Spud knew. And I'm like, I got knocked out there? It's like, yeah. So no memory of getting knocked out. No nothing. I totally remember Tandy, like, holding my hands and doing the whatever concussion protocol. I don't know. Anyway, yep. Fun times, watching that on video.
Well, then I guess another one would have been the coyote wreck in Tacoma. You got dragged all the way you got basically made a full home run with Coyote in the Tacoma Dome.
I wonder, like, we've got to time that. Even when you go to try and watch that wreck on replay, like, you want to double it up on speed, because it's really just too long to watch. It's too agonizing. Like, kill the guy off already.
Just put him out of his misery by now. Come on, guys. I've had that happen one time. You have to watch it slow. You get thrown off, and then to get twisted around, underneath there, you're not coming out. Like, you're not. So whenever that happened, instantly with your hand, however it is, you can't duplicate it like this, but I knew my hand wasn't coming out. And so there's a bit of anxiety that starts going through my mind, Wasey, because I can't communicate that to these bullfighters. So Rob Smets, after he got tired after a while, he just grabbed a hold of me and was just thinking he'd just pull me off. Yeah. I'm like, dude, it ain't coming. Like, but you can't have this dialogue, like it's, and I just remember thinking, I am never coming out of here. Like, and then finally, like, him getting in front and hitting me and just being so exhausted. And the funniest part about that whole thing is, I think, telling Kelly Armstrong right before it, like, there was some other wreck. And I'm like, if you think that was a wreck, watch this. Because we were, we were always making fun of ourselves. Like, we were always acting like we couldn't ride. We're always just saying that we sucked and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, well, if you think that was a catastrophe, like, watch. And we knew, I was being serious because I was tall. He was small. I didn't really have a negative attitude, but I sort of did.
Subconsciously, it came to fruition.
Self-fulfilling prophecy on that.
Yeah. Holy.
I wanted to ask about the ride at the 2000 World Finals where you got mucked out on the gate. The gate man let you down and didn't hold it back, and you got bucked off right into the end of her. How did you cuss the gate guy? Did you?
No, I didn't. I that looks a lot worse than it was. Again, I got that shell vest on. Mm-hmm. So you take that TK vest. Listen, it's just like having on a piece of plywood. Mm-hmm. So if you got a piece of plywood in front of you and you run into a metal beam, nobody cares. So I didn't care. I just kind of, like, you just, get your breath. Mm-hmm. It didn't even really wind me. Okay. So all that I was just, I'm just like, what's the rewrite? Right. Like, so, and even watching that back, and it was shared not too long ago by that All Things Rough Stock, put that little video out. And of course, everyone jumps on there to cuss the gate guy, but man, it's almost like doing the sound in church. Like, no one looks unless something's wrong. So, them guys are there. He don't want to make a mistake. He don't, so whatever. Like, there's a lot going on. Those arenas, if no one's ever been to the Thomaston Mac, you cannot believe how small the arena is. It blows your mind when you first get there and you're like, what? This is it? This is the arena? and we cut it in half. Like we cut the Thomas and Mack when the NFR and they bring in that chuck wagon with the 4 horses, dude, that thing can barely turn around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you get there, you're like, that whole thing takes up the entire arena. He can barely do a figure 8. So when they're rolling a bull and you look behind you, dude, 3 jumps and he's to the other end of the pen, and 3 more jumps and he's back. So I just think he got sidetracked, and you know, I was happy to get yellow one, you know, in the short round. I mean, it was nice to be 88.5 and split 10th 3 ways. You know, it's really great.
That was that night. Was that the night that everybody was like 95, 96? Like, was that night? At the World Finals? Or what? That was the one too.
No, that was 99. Or,
99.
I don't know.
Oh,
I think it was 91 when Terry Dawn, all them guys were.
Yeah, like crazy scores.
Yeah.
It was like 1190s.
I think that was in 99. It could have been in 2000, but yeah, I mean, it was. I never did do any good at the finals. I never did well. I can remember just little things, but there's also like a ton of other events where, you know, I'm sure as I can say it, I'll say something wrong, but like I never did any good at Lansing, Pennsylvania, you know, either. Right. Like, you know, but who cares? Like that wasn't the world finals. So, you know, but over the years, I mean, Worcester, I'd win first or second or third every year I went there. Same thing with Grand Rapids, you know, same thing with, so it just, you know, it's just kind of funny how sometimes some things just kind of work out. I'm thankful that I never really hit it out of the park earlier in my career. Cause I tell you what, that extra stardom you get, that extra fame, that extra, I can remember the very first year that I was doing great. I was in the top 5 and for the first little while. And then I remember coming home and someone going, wow, BJ, you're doing so great, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, man, that Chris Shivers, he sure didn't turn out to be much, huh? Sure a disappointment. And I just, you know, remember making that comment and like, he was like 23 points behind or ahead of me. I mean, we were basically tied and it was just all the praise in the world for me. And basically like, yeah, that other guy, he sure hadn't panned out, you know, just, so that's a difference between notoriety and fame. And like, I never had that pressure. Never had that pressure. We always think we want it, but yeah, you know, everyone notices when you lose and all them eyes are on you too.
We haven't got to what you're doing now and how you ended up in Nashville. You're currently with Remax, right? As a real estate associate?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. How did you end up in the real estate business? And how quick was that transition out of bull riding into that? And why Tennessee?
Well, I married a girl here, and she's from here. She had a job, you know, family's here, and I lived like a gypsy, right? So this was
you're
the
a free
obvious,
agent.
Yeah. Someone had a home, and
are you legally in America still?
Yeah. Hey, no comment. Yeah. I saw what was going to happen up north, and I left a long time ago. Listen, I saw this coming long before. No, so I met my wife at a cowboy church service in Las Vegas. I gave like a testimony at the cowboy church service in 2001, and she was there on holiday. And anyway, happened to meet her, married her. I rode bulls for like another only about half a year after I got married, and it was almost like someone reached over and flipped out the light switch. Just the desire where, you know, that all of a sudden wasn't there. I had the physical ability to still ride a bull and whatever, but just didn't want to do it all day, every day, balls to the wall, which is really the way you ought to be. So I decided, well, everyone doesn't want to go to work some days, but if you're riding bulls, it sounds too dangerous. And I'd invested in real estate. I bought a house in Calgary that I rented out, and I did well on that. And so I just kind of took a part-time passion or whatever and kind of made it into a career. And I thought I was going to help those bull riders invest, you know, their money when I first started, but ended up being more traditional real estate, I guess, more than that.
So where was the house in Calgary?
It was right downtown. I don't remember the address, but
really?
I mean, just bought a house in downtown Calgary, just called up Yellow Pages. back then going, hey, you know, I want to buy a house for rental property, and someone sold me one.
Interesting. And then you sold it a couple years later. That was your first.
Yeah,
one?
I think I made more money on the exchange rate of bringing my money back and forth accidentally than I even made on the house. You know what I mean? Like just
Really?
bringing the money up from the U.S. and the timing, I did really well, and then the dollar went the other direction, and like I think I made like 40% on the exchange. You know, of you know bringing 60 grand back and forth. You know, which was more than the profit on the house. But yeah. I actually ended up renting it out to some family members, and then there was a bed there for me, and anyway, just was like an investment. So that's what I do for a living now. I'm self-employed, so it kind of works with what you did before. It's got a lot of freedom.
And so what's the day-to-day like? Are you selling for the are you a agent, or are you buying and selling your own properties now, or what else are you working on?
So I am a normal agent, do everything the normal agent does, but yes. So I'm in the process of building, developing a subdivision that's, all investment properties. And so I deal a little bit more on the investment side of it than just traditional real estate, although I can do all the traditional real estate stuff more in the investing world. And so, yes, the building, rental property and commercial stuff like that. And yes, for myself as well as for other people.
Oh, very cool. And you started that, like, I think I look back and you've had this, you've been doing that since 2005, like the year that you finished?
March 2006 is when 2006. I started. Yeah. So that'll be, 17 years here in a few days.
Dang.
Yeah. Right on. So, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's 16 years.
Either way.
Yeah.
Math is hard anyways. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right. So that's, yep. So that's what I do for a living now. The day-to-day is, it's pretty nice. So it just depends. Sometimes, I'm busy and it's this, that, and it's, it's whatever else, but it's, I don't know. It's not, there's not a routine to it. I'm on call and we're making decisions, and I get home and tell Judith that we bought a house somewhere. So it's better than calling her up, telling her I broke my leg on a bull, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not a bad trade-off.
Yeah.
I think we've kept you longer than I told you, so I'm sorry to keep you longer here. We probably should wrap it up unless you. It's almost 10 o'clock, or it's 9:06 where you're at too, right?
Yeah, that's part of the nice thing of working for yourself. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Just whatever you want.
Wasey, what else you got?
I think we hit everything that I had wanted to chat about.
Oh no, I had one written down here. I've found your sense of humor and very entertaining from afar from Facebook. So I gotta ask what the best prank you ever pulled on the road was. There's gotta be. I feel like you might have been a prankster. I don't know for sure, but there may or may not be a story here.
Oh, it's hard to think. It's almost like one of those things where you have to get people going, telling this, that, or the other to get to one? Yeah, to get to those pranks where, I don't know, just, yeah.
Who is the easiest target of the guys you hung out with? Usually you can, like, for me anyways, it's easy to identify the people who you can kind of pick on a little bit easier than others.
Oh man, like I like to, so okay, here's what I'll say just on the topic. Who you didn't want to get? You didn't want to get Glenn. So Glenn was the worst, like retaliation-wise, little things bugged him. So Herf, like Greg Whitlow, he pulls up. You guys probably know this story. He pulls up to and they're in the Saskatchewan. A train's going by. Okay, so pull up, the thing's down. Trains go by. Well, Herf, he just sticks her in park, and after a while, he just kind of tilts his head back and falls asleep. So he falls asleep, trains, done past, and Glenn was already sleeping in the passenger side. So he wakes up, and they're in the middle of nowhere, to the road as far as you can see, flat in Saskatchewan. And then just, hey, he just beats her in the chest, like, what are you doing? Like, what? Fell asleep, and so anyway, whenever I remember pranking, I don't know what I did to Glenn, but I can remember waking up. He parked me in the sunshine when I was sleeping, he parked me to where the sun was going to come up and be beaten in, windows rolled up, and they went into IHOP, and you'd wake up in the car being 140 degrees. So I remember getting pranked back by Glenn is what I can remember. But,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Inhumane.
No, fun times. They're fun way to make a living and good times on the road. And it's really that's the funnest thing, right? The travel in that rodeo, and even just getting to talk with you guys. You just meet everyone. Everyone's automatically all a part of it, right? So it just doesn't matter. And there's just kind of this universal sort of thing you can't quite explain. And sometimes you have to remind yourself, you go to a certain place and it's not a rodeo crowd. Like, okay, it's 12:30 at night. I can't just walk up and knock on the door at this house like they're a rodeo family. You'd be like, hey, we're passing through. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Sleep in the basement. Yeah. Like, you can't just do that. And so being a part of that community, and then getting to do it at that level and getting to find out how good you are and how good you're not, what a fun way to make a living for a while.
What's the wildest traveling story that you have then? Driving a van across America for 7 to 10, 15 years, I guess, once you rode the Greyhound and everything.
Rode the Greyhound for a couple of years in there too.
Listen, the wildest traveling stories. Well, I mean, there's some ones that aren't, I have been pulled over going 90 on a donut tire, by the police and stuff. But the wildest stories end up being, they're the steer. I mean, it's when I was 12 and I'd be at an amateur rodeo and trying to get to a professional rodeo, and I can remember. I would go, I'd just go to the announcer. I'd be like, hey, my name's BJ Kramps. I'm trying to get to wherever. And so could you just make an announcement that I need a ride to? And listen, I did that. This was just this is how you get the word out, and go out there, get a megaphone. Hey, this is my name. I need a ride here. Get everyone interested. And so I remember them girls, at that rodeo, there was 4 of them in the cab of a pickup, and then they brought me, right? There's 5 in a single cab. So we took turns riding in the horse trailer, and they got me, and then they took me up to Williams Lake from where was that? Hudson Hope. And then I took the midnight bus to Cache Creek. And then I remember I had to sit in Cache Creek, and wait for 5 hours until I eventually caught a cab to that rodeo. What is it? What is that? Was it Armstrong? Anyway, to go ride in that steer ride. And I was up all night. I mean, just up all night. I had to buy that bus ticket. Yeah. And just to get there. And I was 68 points. I split 3rd and 4th, and I won $68. Yeah. I have it all written down. I have everything journaled. I have everything, what it cost, what I made. I have all of those records. So if you can't look up something before I got to the professional ranks, anyway, I have it all written down.
Really? And you have that in a little journal book, or what do you have that in?
Several. It takes up a lot of books. I've got books and books of it.
Is it this kind of a book? You got your notes and whatnot?
Yeah. Really? And it'll and every event I did, what I drew, who they were, and yep.
I have that in Excel from my early days. 02 to probably 2008 in Microsoft Excel. I don't know where it is anymore, but I know what you mean. I remember the scores and the money from 2002. You probably remember some of those things too. You do $68. That's wild.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, little things like that. They stick with you. I made $2,300 and something in the standings that year riding steers. So when I was 13, I had my own check blanks. They said Bobby Joe Kramps. Dude, I was a businessman. I was a man. Dude, I took a bus. I bought bus tickets and just went down south. So it did a lot for me being able to speak and interact. You put a kid in a position where you make him talk. You have to talk. You're not just going to sit there and it's going to happen. You've got to find the ride, right? So that really develops a lot of skills and confidence. You know, I mean, what do you think scares that kid? Like nothing. Like not
not
much.
a damn thing.
Yeah.
Well, just even like thinking back to being younger and like going up to the announcer stand and asking the announcer to make an announcement like that. That's a pretty intimidating thing for a young kid. Like asking a 12-year-old to do that nowadays is
Jack,
oh yeah, go knock on the neighbor's door and ask them if you want to buy cookies for you. Oh no, I don't want to do. Well, it's your fundraiser, you know.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. Like that was just, you know, and then having to stand up. Like some of those people, when I was in that Husky station in Cache Creek, listen, there's nothing. It's a gas station, and then it's outside. It was where the Greyhound stopped. I tried to lay down in that booth, and I'm 12, and that guy's like, "Hey, you can't sleep in here. Like, there's nowhere to go outside." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I sat up. He's like, "You can't stay in here unless you order." I'm like, "Okay, I'll have a cheeseburger." He's like, "It's 5 a.m. The girl's not on." Just like,
what do you want from me, dude?
I was like, "Well, can I get a chocolate milk?" He's like, "Yeah." Dude, I nursed that thing from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. You know, those were the days I called on a payphone to my parents. I'm like, "Dad," I'm like, "this guy in the restaurant, like he wants me to leave," you know? Like, so you'd have to do like stuff like that, you know, just as a boy, you know, that guy didn't want me hanging around, you know, and like, whatever, you know, I'd have some choice words for him nowadays, but like as a kid, you don't have that authority or that, you know, and
he just,
like the old man's, you know, he's just like, just order a milk and sit there, you know, it's just.
Dang,
that's wild.
Did any dodgy stuff happen while you're on the road like that? There had to be some.
No, I mean, I learned that people did not act like I heard about growing up in church, right? Like, so I learned that, you know, some stuff a little bit early there, where the bull riders didn't keep a filter, you know, whatever, right? I don't think that's anything new. I mean, no, you just, yeah, you learn about interactions and like finances, and I think it taught me a lot of lessons, you know, and you figure that stuff out, and you don't need all this extra stuff. I mean, Dad taught me to pack a little clothes bag and stick it in the rigging bag, and you only have one bag, you know, and you just make your living around there, and you form a lot of close relationships. Like I know those guys really good because I lived with them. You know, I didn't go home every weekend. You know, I got there when I rode bulls and was like, well, here, like, and everyone's happy to have you.
And what about the people now? Are you still in contact with many of these guys that you competed against, or you know, what's it like where you are now? And do you get home very often? Like, I know that you went to the high school finals in 2005. You did the speech for the Alberta High School Association. 1 year off. I was there in 2006. Was my first high school final, so I just missed you. But how often do you get home?
Well, it's almost like you got to talk pre-COVID because, you know, the world lost its mind here. But I used to go home, you know, at least once a year, all the time, like in the fall when kind of parents were harvesting and everything. I don't go to a lot of events. I mean, I went to that event a little bit yesterday. Well, a lot of the reason I went there is because I pinched something in my neck, and I'd had a surgery on a long time ago, and I knew there was going to be a sports medicine crew there, and I just kind of had some questions, and then I text Cody Custer and just said, "Hey, who's putting on that event? Is there a sports medicine crew?" And he's like, "Yeah, here, ask this guy," and you know, and I was glad I went. Edney is still competing, you know.
The guy's wild.
He walked in there, he's like, "Hey," and he gives me a big hug. And like, I was there in 2002 with him and Philip Elkins and all those Brazilians, and they're just very, very dedicated to workout routines. And so they got memberships at whatever gym, like it's this big YMCA or whatever it was. So they're all members there, right? And to go to work out with them, like it cost $20. So it was like a big deal to go, and we were trying to figure out how to finagle the system, I'm sure. But anyway, Edney was there, and I'm like, well, now Edney's winning the world. Like, he's the man at the time. And it's like, so Edney, you go there and you work out too? His English wasn't as good then. And he's like, I go, but I no workout. I go hot tub. Dude, And he wasn't joking. Like, he just went in there. He just sat back, like he sat in the hot tub, and all them other guys are running and swimming laps and doing all this stuff. And like at the end of the year, he was the champ. Like, it was just
Hot tub guy.
Yeah, man. And that's why he's still riding. Like, he didn't have his heart work so hard that he's, put himself out of bull riding shoe.
Oh yeah. So on the business side of things, where did you was that from learning on the road, or has there been a mentor along the way? Or I want to know what some of the best advice would be for some of the guys going now, or even for Wasey and I. Like, tell us about the business side of things.
So, I mean, budgets are simple and they're not easy. It's this analogy doesn't go very far in the rodeo world, but it's just like weight. I mean, it's calories. It's either you burn so many and you take so many in. If you take in more, you get fat, right? It's not hard. Same thing with money. I mean, you have to have more coming in than you have going out. And for me, it didn't take a whole lot of discipline, Ted, because I got shaps the day before I went to the Hobima Christmas rodeo, at my first pro rodeo. So I wore no shaps my entire amateur career up until that point. I did not, didn't have shaps, right? So anyway, I mean, it was easy to go without, but keeping that under wraps and having the financial ability to go, I think it's going to glaze over everybody, or they're not. So I was not even close to the best bull rider in Canada. Not even close. But I went, and I feel a little bit like that's some of the reason that some of the other guys were coming, right? Because it's like, well, golly, I mean, if he can do it, it's not just Glenn and these other guys like Wade Joel, that obviously ride good. So I'm a huge proponent of just entering. Just enter. Like, if you just enter, like, you can't win if you're not entered. It's a statistical fact. And so my father would not let us believe that we couldn't win it, like any kind of parent. But I mean, it was just extreme. And so the advice that I mean, on the budget side of things, that's just got to be held low, and you figure out how to do that, and you better get along with people. And so I did the 4 guys in the Hope Motel 6 and the whatever else. You can still make money, and you can make a living doing it. So I think and then I'd just go. I mean, I'd enter, and you got to pick your traveling partners. If you're around that negativity, like the old joke, I mean, the police officer who sees the suicidal guy that's going to jump off a bridge, and he pulls over and stops and goes, whoa, 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 sir, you don't want to do that. And he goes, well, how do you know? I just lost my business, wife just left me. And after 20 minutes of listening to that, they both jumped. Yeah, I mean, it's just that negativity, being around those guys that thought that the judges weren't getting them and the block, those people want to be losers. And so if you hang around in that losing mentality, I really think picking the right framework and the right positive guys, that was a big part of it. Big major part of it.
Same thing on the business side though, or like what have been some of the successes on that side?
So business side of it, I mean, look for opportunity, right? So look for stuff that matches up in this world of bull riding. So for me, I mean, it's like, okay, what are my skill set? What do I do? What do I do for a living? And how does this mesh in? And then, so that whole promotional world, I did a lot in it, right? So got paid for a lot. It opens a lot of doors, just relationships wise, sponsorship wise. And so approaching that, it's not like, ooh, how can I get a sponsor? Okay. That's how a thief, okay, or a taker approaches something. How can I get something from this person? Whereas if you see that entity and you can see a way for you to benefit, that individual, like, that's more how those relationships could kind of go. And I mean, I'm not sure exactly, or on the business side of it, I mean, are you talking like how to go, where to enter, or are you talking about money, or
I'm talking about now. I'm talking about now and just the success you've had and what's got you to where you are. And I just kind of I should ask about that.
So I've been fortunate. I mean, things have worked, my way, but business wise now, I mean, whatever, that's a mind thing of taking risk and seeing things and having an eye for opportunity and, real estate's, I mean, it's a paint by number. There's a lot of different ways you can make a living doing it, but I think how do I say it? Ted, I think if you can critically think, so I think if anyone that can critically think, there's a few people that you give them a job to go do and they'll go and do it. And the other people show up and they're like, oh, I went there, the gate wouldn't open and they just come home. They don't figure out how to get it open. They don't figure out how to. And so, I just think in that business world, like whatever it is, just find your horse and ride it. Like, whatever that is, like figure out whatever turns you on. So what turns me on is efficiency. I'm an efficiency fanatic. So I like things to be a good deal. I like them to work out well. I like a car that gets good mileage, like whatever, that kind of stuff. So when I help people purchase investments, we make sure they're a good deal and we sell them. And when you make people a bunch of money, they talk about it. That's why Ponzi schemes work. So that's promotion, right? And so if you make people money, they tell other people, and I think it's paint by number. I mean, I think it's easy to do, and I just fortunate enough to be involved in doing it.
Wasey, wrap her up. Last question.
Nice. Well, man, this has been great. Like we mentioned earlier, you're a guy that Teddy and I grew up watching, and it's cool to take the time to talk to you guys that you've been watching for a very long time. So the final question we ask every single cowboy shit guest: what is your definition of cowboy shit?
I think that cowboy shit, if I was trying to define like what it is, if you're trying to define to someone else who isn't there what I think it is. And I think it's just this, I think there's a certain standard. I guess I think there's like a morale, like a respect morale, call it the Sir and Ma'am thing from the cowboy thing, that working for a paycheck. I guess that competing, and putting that out there, and just the peace that comes, like the absence, I guess, of fear and anxiety and whatever else. And so the cowboy rolls in and he's the one that's not worried about nothing. The barn's burning down and he's, whatever, he's grabbing the water buckets, and so to me, I think that, is the person that just undaunted, they got their mind made up and they know what the goal is, whether that's riding a bull or rodeoing or ranching or whatever else that guy's into. And it's just putting your head forward and doing it in a way that you respect yourself when you're done doing it.
Thanks for your time and doing this, BJ. We appreciated the conversation.
It's been great.
You betcha. Make sure you clean up all that stuff and make me sound smart. Okay?
You did that all yourself anyways. You're all good.
Thank you again to BJ Kramps for joining us on the show today. This week, we appreciate it. My name's Ted Stovin. He's Wasey Anderson. This is Cowboy Shit. It's the 112th episode, and we are in the middle of March. It's almost getting nice out at home. We're gonna make
for a walk this afternoon. It was beautiful. Yeah,
we're gonna take the wiener dogs out here after the show. We get recorded. Got a bunch of merch heading out, and we are heading out. Wasey, we're heading to Florida.
Can I touch on something from BJ's interview before we move into this?
Yeah, give her, man.
Man, when he talked about how he started out rodeo and his parents just turned him loose, like 12 years old, like taking the bus, hitchhiking to rodeos, dude.
Yeah.
That, and you know what? I thought it was a little bit wild looking back when I was rodeoing, like once I turned 16, like I was allowed to go to rodeos by myself and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was a little wild, but hearing that from BJ, it's like, man, I don't even know what it was like. That's back
Question.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a bus to get to a rodeo?
No, I haven't. But I have taken a bus to a hockey tournament, though.
Really?
I bus from Saskatoon to Vegreville.
Really?
Because I was still part of. So when I was in my second year at Bantam, I was still part of Hockey Alberta because that's where I played the full season. Then that was when we moved to Nacum. So I'd played hockey in Peace River that summer. So for my second year zone camp, I had to go to the Vegreville one. Really? That's the zone I fell into.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. It's just kind
How'd
of
that work
wild. I had a good camp, but that was like my draft years too. And I talked to a few scouts, but nothing happened.
WHL draft?
I cried when I didn't get drafted in the dub draft. That was a big moment for me.
Huh.
Yeah.
Turning point. TSN turning point in your career, some might say.
Yeah, it kind of started my sourness towards hockey, but that's a story for another time. But anyways, yeah, no, I've never taken a bus. Have you?
Yeah, I did actually. I was probably, what would I have been? I was steer riding age. I think I was 14, 15, 13, somewhere in there. But I took a bus from like Edmonton to go to like Wainwright. And I went and saw some friends out there too. But I did take the Greyhound.
Nice. You took the BJ Kramps rodeo. And...
Yeah, I took the BJ Kramps School of Rodeo, but I didn't know that till now. But
that's funny.
Yeah, I actually did. And I took it back to Edmonton. It was like to and from Edmonton because it was far to go to Wainwright, like way the fuck up and gone over there. My parents are busy, so yeah, I took the bus and met some friends.
That's awesome, man. That's fun.
So I did do that. Have not been on the bus recently.
No, we almost had to ride the bus last year because of fantasy hockey.
That's true.
Our punishment.
Glad I didn't lose that.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, sorry. I want to talk about that because that stuck with me as wild.
Yeah, that's a good point. What else did I have here for today?
We're going to Florida.
Yeah, Florida. Yeah, so we're leaving on Friday the 11th of March, direct down to Orlando, stay there for a couple days. Storm and I are going to go over to Cape Canaveral for the day. We got a hotel by Universal Studios. And Wasey, you just booked a ticket to a special the what is it?
The most magical place in the world.
The most magical
the happiest place in the world.
Happiest place on Earth?
Man. Happiest place on Earth, dude. I'm going to Disneyland.
World.
I'm going to Disney World.
California.
Yeah, I just booked my ticket. Literally, before we jumped on here, I just paid for my ticket. I got the park hopper pass, so I'm going to start off in.
How much was it? How much?
$200 bucks, $220 for the day.
US dollars. Oh my gosh.
And it's a cool experience, dude.
Are you gonna go for Disney from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 9 p.m.?
Fucking rights, bro. I'm gonna wake up, go for a run. Then I'm gonna go over to Disneyland. I'm gonna go to.
You do not need to wake up and go for a run when you're going to fucking.
Yeah, I do, man. I'm training for a marathon.
You going to Disneyland for a day will be a marathon. You do not need to go for a run that morning.
I'm gonna wear.
If you wear your new shoes from Michelle.
My cowboy shit, Chuck Taylor's, Michelle Greer, former Miss Rodeo Ponoka.
Yeah.
So anyways,
just as a suggestion, don't run in the morning or you will power out and pass out sometime in the daytime.
I'm in pretty good shape right now, actually.
Yeah, it's 32 degrees Celsius, dude. I know you don't like the heat that much. You will melt in the.
I love being
Florida
in the heat,
sun.
man.
Okay.
Where do you don't? You're making all these things up about me that aren't true.
One thing I said one thing, but
I don't know, man.
I don't think it's a very good idea to go for a run.
I'm fired. Okay. Anyways, that's beside the point, man. It's beside the point.
We'll do a poll. Should Wasey go for a run before?
I can do I can do a 3-kilometer run in 17 minutes. It's a quick, not a hard part of my day.
Humble brag.
Yeah, not a big deal, man. But anyways, that's beside the point. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna go. Do you
want to put that on Twitter? Like everybody's putting their wordles on Twitter. Hey, I'm Wasey Anderson. I can run.
We're gonna get into that after. We need to get in that after. We need to get in that after this. But anyways, I'm going to Disneyland. I'm gonna start off in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
You're going to Disneyland.
No, I'm going wherever I want, dude. I'm going wherever I want.
You're gonna be disappointed. I hope you didn't buy a Disneyland ticket.
No, it's Disney World. I should double check that actually. No, it's Disney World. I'm good, boys.
Oh shit, that'd have been good.
That's so funny. That's hilarious.
I'm Wasey Anderson. I bought a ticket to Disneyland, but I'm going to Florida.
I'm going to Disney World. No, I'm at Disney World. I'm good. Oof, that actually scared me. How funny would that have been? Oh, the idiot.
Dear.
But I'm okay. Anyways, I'm fired up.
That'd be Wasey's
Edge,
$2 million haunt. He'd be haunted for life by buying a ticket to Disneyland when he went.
But I could have got a refund and rebooked it, so it's not the end of the world.
That's funny. So you're going to Disney World. You're going to go build a lightsaber and.
Hell yeah, brother! I'm pumped up for Galaxy's Edge.
Hopefully, not get arrested for being a single white dude in his late 20s going to Disney
with a mustache,
wearing Chuck Taylor's with a mustache and a cowboy shit.
I'm gonna have a day, dude. I'm so pumped for that. I'm just gonna be living my best life. Do you like doing things alone?
Not like I don't think I would do that, but I did go to the Capitol in Washington D.C. by myself one time because I flew home I redirected my flight from Brazil and went to a thing in Baltimore, Maryland for a few days.
Yeah,
my mom said you got to go down to the Capitol in D.C. So I took the train by myself down to D.C. Well, I flew by myself from Brazil to the U.S. Then took a train to DC and walked all around DC one morning, and then took the train back and went to.
Like, would you go to the movies by yourself?
I don't think so. I'd rather stay home or go. I did go golfing by myself quite a bit last year though, when it was COVID times.
I like
didn't mind
going
that.
to the movies
Go
alone.
fast. Yeah, you went to Batman the other day alone.
So you know what? It's a weird thing. I get really bad anxiety when I go to movies with other people. I'm so worried about them enjoying the movie, especially if it's one that I picked. So it like takes some of the joy out of it for me because I'm just so concerned about the other person enjoying the movie. So I like going to it alone. It's completely irrational and silly that I feel that way, but that's just something the way that I feel when I go to movies. I also want to do a solo like travel trip to like Europe or something and go backpack around by myself just to.
You'd meet a lot.
I like doing stuff alone. Sometimes I do a lot of stuff with people, so it's nice to do stuff alone.
That's fair. I don't think that's my jam.
Fair enough, man.
For some things, yeah. Like golf, I could do. Hockey, I've kind of like it's not really alone. That you always know somebody.
With that, yeah.
I
mean, actually, you know what though? When I first moved to Calgary, I had to play for a lot of teams that I didn't know anybody. I was just getting called up
to
to backup.
It's a good way to get going, though.
Yeah, a good way to meet people for sure.
But I guess I probably spend enough time on my own anyways, like in the truck and driving by myself, and I'm always calling people, getting caught up and stuff. If I can ever go with someone, I like to do that. Like Covey, I know Covey, our friend, does not like to travel with anybody. Like he's turned me up a lot of times where we'll like be planning to go somewhere, and then he's just like, no, so I can't. I'm gonna go by myself. That kind of sucks, but
Covey.
But I like to go with people, especially driving, because you can have I don't know, you can have conversation, you can bullshit, like somebody else can drive. It's just like I feel like it's a safer way to travel.
Yeah, it's always nice. I also don't mind traveling alone either. My last year rodeoing, like the last 2015, the last few months I rodeoed, I had my pro card, I had a BRC card, a PBR card, I had like a CCA card still, so I was going all over the place to these rodeos. I was by myself a lot.
Nobody else making the same tracks.
Yeah. It was kind of it always is more fun traveling with your buddies, so especially rodeo. That's the best part of it, anyways.
I'm with you. And now we're doing similar shit. Like you and I could go golf somewhere. We could go do this or that. Like it's a little more fun that way.
Yeah.
What else we got? Waste are we done?
I think that's about it.
It's probably.
I'll save some of these other stuff I have when we don't have as much stuff to talk about.
Let's do that. Oh, except Florida, we're going to do a deal for Wranglers. So stay tuned because it's
we got some cool shit coming with that.
Be fun. We're gonna meet up with our friends David Sharp and Clay Handback. It's gonna be a pretty fun time. We're gonna go fishing.
It's gonna be fun to hang with David. I haven't hung with him like really before.
Yeah, you'll enjoy him. He likes keg beer and good times. He's also
keg beer and good times. That's a sweet tagline.
He's also a former like break dancer. So you'll have to ask.
Yeah, he's got some moves when he puts his buffalo coat dance moves.
Yeah, that's cowboy shit.
Tell him to bring his buffalo coats. We can do some stuff with that.
Oh, I'm gonna do that right now. Okay.
Yeah, we need that.
Thanks to BJ Kramps for being on the show this week. My co-host, partner in crime, Wasey Anderson. Thanks for doing 112 shows with me, Wace. It's been fun.
It's been a hell of a time, dude.
We didn't even have a domestic on the show this week.
We almost did.
Not today. Oh,
you were gonna
give me shit about Wordle, but we'll get to that another time.
Fuck you, man.
Thanks to Sean Morton, our editor, Wasey Anderson, social media manager.
Sean, make sure you leave that "fuck you" in there, please.
Storm
Let people enjoy things, Ted.
He kicks ass. All right. See y'all next time.